Gemini King, Mike in the night, and the Gemini crew. Ooh! Sometimes things are just absurd, so let's just talk about the squirrels, cause you're here with us tonight.
Little or a scratcher in the house.
Mike it through the night, you're here with Mike in the night. Mike it through the night, you're here with Mike in the night.
Oh yeah, I heard about it today, buddy.
Let's just talk about the world. Give this page another curl, cause you're here with us tonight.
Welcome one, welcome all. Good night, good evening, good morning, wherever you're watching this transmission. It is I, Mike Martins, bringing you another special impact, high impact edition of Mike in the Night. I want to thank everyone for tuning in, and I want to thank everybody for being part of this show. Just sharing a video supports this transmission. Seeing that I'm trying to get fizzled out as I try to get bigger, you know. You will get copyright music. No, that song was made for me, dog. That's a low roller scratcher in the comments. Yo, dog. That song was made for me personally, so it's my song. And Lost Canuck in the house tonight. Lost Canuck here to make a difference and make it all right. Anyways, guys, welcome to Mike in the Night, very special edition tonight. We got a lot of shout outs here lined up, and we got a lot of discussion lined up for tonight. And they took down my Ric Flair that I used to use to go, woo! They took it down. YouTube took it down. That 1 second, woo, that I put on the show, well, I found another one, so.
Woo!
Yeah, I found a soundboard of Ric Flair.
Woo! Today, woo! I've got the style and profile like never before.
Yeah, right there. So they took down my 1 second clip from YouTube. Nathan is asking, when do you expect the mass bubble to explode and the housing bubble to drop? 6 months? I think what's happening, to be honest with you, is they're going to let the air out of the bubble as slow as possible. They know it's going to come down. They know things are going to come down. I just have a feeling they're going to take it out slowly. And before you know it, like Perth, Australia is a great example. Perth homes went to 400,000 to 1 million, 1.2 million in Western Australia. And then we're going into 4, 8, 12, 16 quarters now that it's been going down every quarter. And they're almost back to where they should be. Another 3 more quarters and Perth would be back to normal. But they're going to do it slowly, like they did that in Australia. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they play these numbers and how they Mickey Mouse stuff. Tonight's special show is we're going to be talking about the middle class. We did a show about 8 months ago on the middle class. What is middle class? Who is middle class? Who defines themselves as middle class, right? So that's kind of important because everyone I speak to is middle class. And I don't know if I'm middle class. I could be poor. I could be upper poor class, right? And Lost Connect saying, Mike, I've been talking to a lot of people. No work in the construction, very slow, and rentals are slow. Yeah, that's a big deal. Yeah, that's a big deal because, well, of course, construction workers are middle class workers, right? According to this hierarchy we're going to look at here, we're going to look at the hierarchy of class. Where do you fit in? What is middle class? Woo! Woo! All right, let's go from Channel News here. Last week's Mike in the Night, if you missed it, Tariff Wars. Mike in the Night the week before, the death of the pension, and Mario Andretti's was on show. Mike in the Night, is marriage dead? And there's lots more here. Mike in the Night, your story, where people send me links. Mike in the Night, Australia, Darwin, unloading you, Big Brother. Mike in the Night, mass exodus. MGTOW, Collins, people call in for MGTOW. Mike in the Night, how to hedge against a crash. Mike in the Night, your predictions, you call in. What people predict is going to happen. So welcome tonight to what class am I? What's middle class anymore? And trends in the housing market. Last week's show was a hit. It was short but was sweet. Wash my money. was last week's show. And this one's getting around. This video is almost at 3,000 views. Housing crisis, stop with this garbage. And another leaning tower is Sydney, guys. Another leaning tower. Remember the Opal Tower? Well, there's more towers that were badly either engineered or badly fabricated, badly assembled, cut in corners. Mickey Mouse. You know, Mickey Mouse. Woo! Okay, we got cryptocurrency exchange shuts down. And then I went to a Filipino party today. And you guys know I'm going through some tough times right now. The building I'm in sold, and they're giving me to the end of July to get my stuff out. The building was sold to a corporate number. They bought 8 buildings in my town. A corporation number bought it. So there's another building I want to get into. So the owner's on a cruise, so I can't contact the owner. So it's really tough. Yeah, Little World of Scratch saying your Toronto Raptors won the championship. Woo! Oh yeah, Raptors all the way, man. Anon saying, Mike, more people are getting shadow banned and censored and suppressed. Of course they are. Of course they are. You know, happy Father's Day to all dads, all great dads out there. We still go, oh yeah, it's Father's Day right now out East, and it's Father's Day in Australia. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Living out east and in Australia and New Zealand and the UK and eastern United States and Canada. Still 9 p.m. here. Still got 3 hours to Father's Day. So Sol Dixter is in the new commenter here. Solid Exter is in the comment section here. Yeah, lots going on. So this is the channel here. Let's go to community. Anything happening in the community here? I put up comments. Nothing super major because, I don't know, you put something up and people get offended and stuff, and it's like, eeh. I'm on minds.com, guys. Don't forget to follow me. Get off Facebook. Facebook is CNN News. Facebook is... Did you see that article on Facebook? Apply to become a Facebook... what do you call it? Journalist. They need journalists in country, so Facebook is approving people to become journalists. And you know which side you need to lean on to work or to be a journalist for Facebook. Wow. Wow. Everybody's talking about demonetization. I'm on BitChute. I'm having a really tough time uploading to BitChute, but I am still getting videos up there. There's a little thing here. You could tip or pledge me if you like. See, this channel is monetized through the funding providers. So if you want to tip me on BitChute, you can. Also, Subscribestar, I got 2 subscribers, and I upload on there too. And the most important one is Patreon. I want to thank my 6 Patreon subscribers for supporting me and buying me coffee. Join the family. Here's the family right here. You could buy coffee for $1 a month or $5 a month to become a Caporo Games, means a captain, or you could be a consigliere, which is a higher rank, and underboss of the family if you want to join. And appreciate everyone that's jumped on board. And now let's head over to some news with our friends over at Zero Hedge. Okay, let's go to Zero Hedge and get some information from our friends here before we start tonight's middle class discussion. Are we middle class? Are you middle class? All right, let's do some shout outs. Brian from Hawaii, a Portuguese from Hawaii watching me named Brian. Thank you for watching. Lucas from Toronto, Ontario. Go Raptors, go. Martin from Jackson, Mississippi. Watching me and listening to every single Mike in the Night and listening to back recordings. Okay. And Nicole in Auckland, New Zealand. All right. Woo! Let me get some water here. I gotta wet my beak. You know what I'm saying? Mike in the Night, guys. Thank you for joining. People of the Night. Thank you for joining me. Hope everyone's feeling all right out there tonight. We got Tashilo. Tashilo out there saying, oh, I got all these pop-ups now for like 44 minutes. I got Tashilo, hi from Queenston, New Zealand. Right on. Sorry, I got a neighbor shouting outside. Okay, alright, I'm just gonna ignore this because it's just gonna go for the next 40 minutes. Anyways, okay, middle class is often a mindset than economic class nowadays. Yes, that's perfect. Solid Exter is right on the money with that. Could it be more of a psychological thing? That's the question. Okay, let's go to some Zero Hedge news, and then we'll kick off tonight's show and debate, and hopefully we can get someone on to discuss middle class. Are they middle class? What is middle class? So we're going to go over the definition, the hierarchy of middle class. I'm going to take a BuzzFeed quiz to find out if I'm considered middle class, and go from there. All right. Whoa. Bottle Caps in the comments has a really good thing there. He's commenting and saying, if you're debt-free, does that make you middle class? You know what? Any disposable income you have that you could afford to spend on a regular basis that your neighbor doesn't, then that's great. If your neighbor is, be careful, because that could be credit cards and borrowed money. Anyone could borrow money. Anybody. Except if you're business for self, like myself. I've been business for self my whole life. And to the banks, I'm considered garbage. So I have to buy everything. So luckily I didn't get into that whole debt thing, because I don't qualify, because I own my own business. And my cars, I own them free and clear. My house, I own free. If I was in debt, I could never get nothing, because I just don't qualify for anything for owning my own business. I don't know how it is in other English-speaking countries, but in Canada, you own your own business? Good luck.
He's a real big dude.
All right, corporations suddenly realized that once coveted millennials are a screwed generation. While robust in size, making up a quarter of the nation's population, there's just one problem. Millennials. None of them have any damn cash. How Iran swindled out of $3.2 trillion. Underlying the one-year anniversary of the mid-August of the signing of the Convention of Legal Status of the Caspian Sea is one of the greatest oil industry swindle in recent years. Think media won't help lead U.S. into war with Iran based on false intelligence? Looks like they already are. Colorado hits $1 billion in marijuana state revenue. Why the S-400 is more formidable threat to U.S. arms industry than you think. Trade war nightmare causes collapse in demand for U.S. industrial space, says Cushman Wakefield. Goldman, here's why the Fed is to shock the market. Yeah, rate cuts. I don't have to read that. I know it's rate cuts. Someone's saying I can't find. No, if you go up to my channel, it's right there. BitChute's right there. Someone's commenting. It's mine's, BitChute, Patreon, and Subscribestar I'm on. All right, back to the news here. Where were we? How to create conflict. 2.2 million homes in America still have negative equity despite record high prices. JP Morgan's significant risk is coming next week and nobody is prepared. Oof. The Polar Silk Road could be a game changer for natural gas. So Canada's got to start getting these pipelines through if they want to keep up with Russia and China, in my opinion. I invest in oil. I'm a dividend investor. I'm old. I don't day trade anymore. Okay, we got Gary Medeiros in the house. Gary Medeiros. Low roller scratcher. And, all right, discussing middle class tonight. Okay, wealthy millennial hires are now being taught impact investing at Harvard. Hallelujah! Someone's teaching somebody how to manage their money. Oh, but I have a degree. I can make gasoline. Yeah, but you're not going to pay off your visa and your student loans. You have to know how to manage your money. You see, when I look at money, I see it as a tool. I see money as like a pair of scissors. Then I see a $100 bill as craft paper. And then I see a $50 bill as glue. And I use that to try and simulate something or make something of it, right? Yep. Homeless and the failure of the urban renewal. So, yeah, homelessness. We're going to do a tent city video. I'm going to get Buddy from California down. We're supposed to do that. But I think understanding where the middle class is, or understanding or people's mindsets, what are they? What is middle class? What is upper middle class? What is poor? What is borderline poor? Okay, so corporations suddenly realized that once coveted millennials are screwed generation. So let's look at this first before we go anywhere here, because this looks actually like this is what we're talking about tonight. Right now, millennials represent the largest single consumer group in the United States. They number 83.1 million, and they represent the full quarter of the U.S. population. When it comes to corporations targeting consumers, millennials are at the top of the list for those obvious reasons, according to the new article. But now, generational expert Alex, who has 25 years experience in the field, is claiming that corporations are getting the ROI that they anticipated from millennials. Yeah, they don't have two nickels to rub together. I love when I do trends in the housing market on Wednesday nights. And you know, it's the best. I'll tell you why it's the best, guys. I'll tell you why. Because they keep blaming millennials rising up home prices. Millennials are doing this. Millennials. They don't have two nickels to rub together. Woo! All right? They don't have two nickels to rub together. Woo! Yeah. So let's move on. Okay. Middle class.
Middle class.
That sounds sexy.
Middle class.
That sounds like super sexy. Listen to this. Like, pay attention. Oh, hold on. It's not playing.
Middle class.
That sounds awesome. Anyways, middle class. Okay, definition. The social group between the upper working classes, including professionals and business workers and their families. All right. Now, Wikipedia, middle class. Now, what's the definition, right? Let's find out the definition. The middle class is a class of people in the middle of social hierarchy. The very definition term middle class is highly political and vigorously contested by various schools of political and economic philosophy. Modern social theorists and especially economists has defined and redefined the term middle class in order to serve their particular political ends. So it's a tool used by politicians in the political hierarchy to make people feel like they belong to a certain hierarchy or a part of society, right? The definitions of the term middle class, therefore, are the results of the more or less scientific methods used when delineating whatever, and the parameters of what isn't in middle class. So, middle class is the broad group of people in the contemporary society who fall in the socio-economical between working class and upper class. The common measures of what constitutes middle class is very significantly among cultures. One of the narrowest definitions limits it to those of the middle fifth of the nation's income ladder. Okay, that's it right there. That's what we needed to know. In the middle fifth of the nation's income ladder. So it's this portion of people in the middle class that actually support and build what is our infrastructure that we have, right? Lower and middle class is it's the private sectors, right? A wider characterization includes everyone but the poorest 20% and the wealthiest 20%. So we got 40 points divided already, and according to this, 60% is middle class. So 20% of the average population, so let's say in the United States, 20 points would be the poorest, 60% would be the middle class, and 20% will be the wealthiest. Sorry, there's a guy playing basketball a few doors down there. He's been hitting that pavement for 5.5 hours, so lots of basketball over here on the street. One kid playing by himself. History of evolution and the term. The term was brought out in 1745. It's a scheme to prevent running Irish wolves into France. Another phrase in early modern Europe was the middle sort, the middling sort. Yeah, the middling sort. So, okay. Oh, it goes into Marxism. Anything you start going into this crap that's politically geared or politically driven, it all starts heading back to all these scary, scary things. Woo! All right, let's move on. So this is the hierarchy of middle class. So this is what they mean of what the hierarchy means, right? So you got the working class, which are servants and slaves, right? Then the middle class would be merchants, craftsmen, fishermen, farmers. So people that basically work the land, factory workers, automobile sector workers, salespeople, whatever. Then you got the social class, and then you got your king. So in Canada, we got King Trudeau. And in the United States, they got King Trump, right? But social class. What the hell is a social class? Oh, CNN. Yeah, that's right. CNN. Woo! Yeah, CNN. Social hierarchy in ancient Phenotica was made up of 4 classes of people. At the top was the king, who was the divine ruler of the entire kingdom and all its holdings. Below was the social class of important leaders and the most wealthy. The middle class of the farmers, fishermen, craftsmen, and merchants, and the lowest class was the working class of servants and slaves. Now, the reason why I brought up this old hierarchy of divide is realistically, especially if you're drowning in debt, are we slaves? Are we servants? According to this. Because craftsman, fisherman, farmer, are they still considered a middle class today? Is working class servants and slaves? Have they bent? Sorry guys, let me close this window. Sorry guys, got Michael Jordan playing basketball outside. It's like pitch black outside. Okay, that's better. Okay, so working class, servants and slaves. So remember when we read the Wikipedia article, they were discussing how they made the discussion how that the middle class word has been warped or changed in a way to serve the political sense of the word, you know? Okay, let's go to some comments here. Okay, cheap resorts in Bali. Amex gives $2 million insurance when traveling. Layla says, I'd like to know who's been able to claim that from Amex. And then Buicha Drop Shot says, read about the Politrate and oligarch. And then there's a link here. Yes, more government. Rustam K saying more and more government equals less middle class. Guys, we don't want more. We don't want more government. We want less government. Who wants government? Who wants it to? Who do you want? Do you really want somebody to tell you what to eat, what to listen to, That's gonna get to that. Like, don't panic. Oh, you're listening to AC/DC, I see. Okay, that's going to put a mark on your social credit score. Hey, so before you freak out, the social credit score is already in Darwin, Australia. They're rolling it out with the 5G, and they're going to be watching you. And if you're listening to AC/DC, and someone doesn't like AC/DC, you're going to get a mark against you. And you can't go to the bank and borrow your money because you might be a risk because you like AC/DC. You might not be able to get that train ticket. Why? Because you might be a risk. Because you listen to AC/DC. Solder Extra is right here. He sent me this thing. We're going to look at it. The income percentile calculator for the United States of America. Let's just continue here real quick. So here it is. Working class. Are we slaves and servants? Let's be realistic here, guys. Let's call the slave a slave. Let's call a spade a spade. Yeah, comments are going good. Mike in the next rolling. Start off by saying your dad's a rock star. He'll beat whatever he's holding him down right now. There's no middle class. There's upper and lower class. Upper class doesn't work. Lower class does. David Gay says, Billy Idol's more of a rebel. You are a crappy person if you listen to Billy Idol. Ha ha. So I'm a crappy person for listening to Billy Idol. All right, so let's move on. There it is here. There it is. You're broken down, social king, middle class. And the word's been refined over time. So let's do this BuzzFeed. BuzzFeed is like something you want to throw up and throw out in the dumpster because it's such bad crap. All right, which type of bread would you choose? So this is a BuzzFeed question if you are considered middle class. So I'm going to fill this out. There it is. This is what the article looks like. I don't recommend anyone to ever read BuzzFeed because it is the biggest piece of vile crap that's out there, but it's called What Percentage Middle Class Are You? So let's do this test here. I'm going to do this test. Be honest, okay? I'm going to be honest. Which type of bread would you choose? Okay, this isn't what I eat. What would I choose? Rye. No. I like sourdough if I had a choice. Which radio station do you listen to the most? I don't know these radio stations. Wait a minute. There's 2 questions. That's going to tell me right now from 2 questions if I'm middle class and I don't know, Capital FM. When did you last eat quinoa? What is quinoa? What is the most significant impact of gentrification on your life? It's locked up my house price, yippee. Loads of amazing new cheese and craft beer shops at the end of my road, no. Better food in the local area, more expensive food in the local area. I hate all the proper old man pubs, no. There are a lot of twats with buggies wandering around and it's doing my head in. It's forced me to relocate somewhere with a lot more concrete and dog. I barely recognize the place I grew up. No, I would say... I don't even know what to say about that. Okay, I'll say... I guess better food in the local area. Choose the thing that would most disappoint you. Cutting into an avocado, finding that it's black. My Greg's sausage is being cold. Releasing the mustard jars empty. The chip song being out of curry sauce. Chip shop. Discovering Tesco is out of no ketchup left. What? How is this going to determine whether or not I'm middle class? Oh, okay, I don't know what this, no ketchup left. Okay, I kind of get, my idea weekend away would be, okay, shopping in London, followed by a show. What? Okay, glamping in a treehouse, a trip to Paris, Soho farmhouse, living at large in the back pool, or Weatherspoon's Hotel. Reese Weatherspoon's Hotel. I think... Probably a farmhouse. Choose a dog. Ooh. Labrador, Schnoodle, Husky, Rescue Greyhound. I want a Greyhound, dude. Which of the following would you class as a great night? Oof. Karaoke and shots, no. A gig, 3-course dinner party with my closest friend, a boozy night with the Witherspoons. Who are the Witherspoons? Getting drunk on craft beer, and a cinema to see the latest. I would see 3-course party, man. Do you consider Claire Balding to be posh? I don't know who that is, so I'll say no. Which British seaside did you visit as a kid? I can't remember what it was called. I think it was Brighton. I think I've been to Brighton. I think I have. What would you spend 10 euros on? A couple of craft beers, organic veg box, a veg box, It would just be a cover on a weekly shop, a Tesco meal deal, new outfit, an M&S meal deal. A couple of beers. Okay, here we go. Yeah, someone's saying, I prefer a night at Cheaters. Yeah! David Gay! Or the Brass Rail. How many Apple products do you own? 3 more than... I don't have any Apple crap. Yeah, I'm a PC and Android more type of person. Which TV show would you like? Would you most like to watch? Big Brother, X Factor, Google Box, Country File, University Challenge, The Great... Man, I don't watch any of this crap. I like that TV show where this guy hits roadkill with his car, takes it home, freezes it, and then at the end of the year he takes all the roadkill, barbecues it, and gets his neighbors to come over. That was a good show. Yeah, none of the above. It won't even let me choose that, so I'm going to go with, I think, X Factor then. Which restaurant did you eat at last? Bell'Italia, McDonald's, Nando's. Oh, I ate at Nando's. Of all these places, the last place I did eat was Nando's, was in Vancouver. Choose a trousers and socks combination. Jeans and black socks, jeans and color socks, jeans and happy socks, jeans and patterned socks, chinos and no chinos, man. Where did you last eat an avocado? I eat them now and again. So you're 60% middle class. You're pretty middle class. There's no point pretending otherwise. You can't resist treating yourself to nice things in life, whether that's an avocado on toast for breakfast or... Why is that considered a nice thing? Avocado on toast, treating myself, that's like carbs on carbs, man. It's like, who the hell's gonna eat avocado on toast? For breakfast, or if I'm gonna have a nice breakfast, it's gonna be like bacon and eggs, sunny side up, and you know what I mean, right? You value quality, want to support small business, that's true. Local business, that's true. And try to buy the best you can afford, sure. That said, you completely agree sometimes nothing is better than a chip shop and tea celebrating Big Brother on TV. So this is like the P.T. Barnum theory, where, you know, you're a little bit optimistic, but you're a little bit pessimistic at times, and sometimes you wake up grumpy, and it's like the P.T. Barnum theory, where it's like everything kind of fits in, and you agree with it. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, like those psychic mediums. If you ever have a psychic medium come up to you guys and say, give me your hand, I'm a psychic medium. And they say, no matter what they tell you, you say no. You had a brother, or you have a brother. No. I'm seeing a woman in your life. It's your mom. No. You had a dog. No. You know, so... David Gay says, you got to be a hipster for at least 5 years to have toast with guaco and avocados. And Margaret O'Brien says, in New Zealand, everyone, it seems, eats avocado on toast. Even my 2-year-old really? Love avocados on rice cakes. On rice cakes? Mike, did you ever consider moving to Vancouver Island before marriage? I did actually. I looked into it. I really did. But then there was a lot of foreign investing coming in and bidding up properties. And I said, nah, I'm going to bid down on a property. So I came here, bought this 10-bedroom. The guy wanted $290, $260. I'll take it. Done. Problem solved. And Vancouver Island would be like, oh, this is $550. You'll never pay it off, but it's $550. And you need to have this 1-bedroom, 3-bedroom bungalow, this 3-bedroom bungalow for like $700,000 once you get up to there. You know, it's like, yeah, that's not going to happen. Charlie Brown in the house, 2-time world champ. The island is just as expensive now. 3 Right Guys Gaming Podcast. That is a Leaf in the house. Okay, so this was sent to us by one of our viewers there. Income percentile calculator for the United States in 2018. So this is your income. So let's say 50 large. Hours to work, 40 plus. Calculate. So this is your distribution. This is how many hours you work. So until you reach income percentile of 99, 40 hours of work. Is this your age? Oh, it's okay. That's never mind. Okay. Group hours work, whatever. So this is a good calculator, guys, if you want. Oh, and then it actually gives you the, for example, what the average income is by dollar cutoff here. Individual incomes there. That's not bad. It's not bad. This is a nice little tool here. And then you have individual income calculator for every different year. I like buying power calculators, guys. We're going to do a buying power show one day on Mike in the Night. We're going to do buying power. We are going to talk about, like, oh, in 1876, $3 could buy you a house. You know what I'm saying? Yep. Woo! Okay, let's move on. So, America's slowly disappearing class. All right, let's see who wants to call in today. Who do we have? There's a lot of people in the comments. Okay, good morning. It's 6:27 here. When is the next time you have a live session on family topics? Well, Joseph is asking. I'm not sure if he's in the thing. He is probably doesn't know I'm live right now. So we're talking about middle class. So that is a family topic. Middle class. What is the middle class? Who is in the Charlie? Can you turn on your Skype, buddy? I want to talk to you. I want to know if you are middle class. We got the Lost Canuck. I wonder if he's still awake. I don't want to wake him up because it's like midnight there. Let's call the Lost Canuck and see what he knows about middle class. He's probably sleeping. No answer. He's probably sleeping. It's kind of late there, so I'm not going to bug the guy. Let's see if the Raven's available. What is middle class? Who is middle class? Who feels middle class today? Do you feel middle class today? Do you define yourself as middle class? Do you feel middle class today? No answer. Everybody's either away or out and about. Supreme Cannon's in the comments. All right, let's see if Supreme Cannon wants to come on the show. If his internet keeps taking a dump. Let's see if he gets let's find out if his internet's okay.
Hey, buddy.
Yo, that didn't even ring. How the hell did you pick that up so quick?
I don't know. Well, I've got Skype booted up already, so just went right into it.
It's what she said last night.
Change. That's right. That's exactly what she said verbatim.
Okay.
Hopefully this call lasts longer than that did.
Yeah. Okay, brother. What middle class? Are you, Supreme Cannon, do you consider yourself middle class?
Yeah, I think I'm middle class.
And what does that mean?
Okay. Well, I guess it depends on the size of the payments you can make nowadays. You know, the middle class basically was your tradesman, your lower level administration, you know, the slightly bluish white collar kind of jobs, things like that. Okay. In the old days, it was the trade guilds, you know, the shopkeepers, people like that. They weren't working for wages where you got paid your denarius a day, and they weren't the wealthy that were telling everybody else what to do. But they ran family businesses, and they could live fairly comfortable lives. They could own property.
Woo! Okay.
That kind of thing.
So I got the old hierarchy of middle class from ancient Photinencia from 2700 BC. And It starts with the king, social class, middle class, and working class. Now, they defined the working class way back in the day as servants and slaves. Does that make the average... are we in that level today? Because I know we were looking at Wikipedia, and it was saying that the term middle class has been warped for political use.
Oh, I agree completely. Well, we are servants. I mean, just about everybody, I mean, obviously with the exception of yourself and myself, fortunately, are up to their neck in debt. Like the whole idea of the middle class now is just how big of payments can you afford to make to maintain the illusion of prosperity. You know what I mean? Like you might drive a leased Audi to work from your $500,000 McMansion, but you're making enormous payments on all of it. It's not yours. You're making enough money to afford to maintain the illusion of being upwardly mobile.
Yeah, it's an illusion we're maintaining.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And it's a pointless illusion. I mean, you have, like you've said yourself many times, we're a debt building society, not a wealth building society.
Right.
It's got a lot to do with deferred consumption and deferred gratification. Nobody really wants to sign on for that anymore. You gotta build the wealth and get it moving for you and supplementing your income and building your independence and getting free of the banks, getting free of that, the usury, right? The money lenders. Get free of them, and then you've got more independence. You've got a little more control over your daily schedule. Is the idea? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The working class, in this chart you've got here, servants and slaves. That's exactly what. I mean, the equivalent would be the people that worked in the fields, or the couriers, the people that were. It was probably a time, if you lived in a big city and you drove a cab 50 years ago, you could make enough money to live a comfortable middle-class life.
Right.
Like you mentioned yourself, you could work at a grocery store and buy a house. Well, today you can do that, but it's called subprime lending. You know what I mean? And that doesn't last long. Like in this attempt to create an overall expansion of wealth, you've got all this cheap money flooding everywhere, but it's not cheap for the people who are actually trying to borrow it and buy these inflated asset prices of absolutely everything.
Well, here's the deal. Here's the problem, right? I believe in my heart of hearts that we're working more and longer and harder to maintain this lifestyle. So our production's going like this, okay?
Yeah.
But our income is just it's flatlined. It's not. There's this huge delta in between our work production. So imagine. Supreme, just imagine this. We go back to 1978 and we put in this much production that we do nowadays, working 2 jobs full time just to pay rent. Imagine how rich we'd be in 1982 working 2 full-time jobs.
Oh, you'd be getting ahead big time if you were somebody that wanted to acquire wealth and get yourself built up and financially independent. That's exactly what you would do, and it would work. But now you're doing it just to stay on the treadmill.
So now our work production has gone up significantly in the last 40 years, but then there's this huge delta in between of pay. Pay hasn't gone up accordingly to wages.
Productivity. And we've talked before about automation. We've talked about, you've got the machines, like when I worked in mining, for example. The mine that I worked at when it first opened in the early 70s, it had 3 8-hour shifts. And the trailer court that I was living in had 80 units in it, right? But when I moved to that place, there was maybe a dozen units left in that trailer court, and there was 2 12-hour shifts, and the machines were multiple times larger than they were in 1971. You didn't need that many people, and you could produce more.
Right.
So it's a pursuit of profit is part of it, because the problem is most commodities that people produce haven't kept pace with inflation either. And in some ways, they're cheaper than they've ever been. I mean, you have silver and gold mines closing right now, Mike.
Yeah,
because
Australia too. Australia's looking at closing down 3 of their biggest in West Australia to close down the 3 biggest gold mines they have.
Yeah, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. And oil is, $50-something US a barrel. Well, is oil suddenly less important than it was before? Mm-hmm. Are we really producing that much more? I don't think so. It just seems so contrived to me. But a lot of it is, you hear talk of manipulation, but a lot of it is, I think, too, is just people's assumptions. They get comfortable with things being the way they are. We've been able to compensate with debt for the loss of buying power that we had in 1978, and it was a slow and insidious process. And as interest rates gradually went down from 20% at one point all the way down to basically zero, the price of so many assets has just slowly inflated. Plus, there's always been downward pressure on wages anyway, right? Like you've got all these people that have come into the countries, and the price of the commodities they're producing haven't kept pace with inflation. Wages won't keep pace.
Wages haven't, because a lot of companies no longer are investing in human capital.
Well, that's right. They don't consider, I mean, they're chasing the profit. The problem is the whole idea of an economy is to serve people. And it's great if you're getting rid of the people and you're automating and you're able to maintain a margin, because that's why businesses exist, especially the large corporations.
But on the grander scale of things, if you want to take it one step back from where you are, let's take one more step back.
Sure.
On a bigger scale, people are forgetting that our exports pay for our imports. And if we're no longer an exporting society like we used to be, how the hell are we paying for our imports? Very simple. We're just printing off money on the presses to buy our imports.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what's happening. That's what's happened in the United States for the last 50 odd years. I mean, they print out these green pieces of paper backed by nothing. And, they used to be backed by gold and silver, and now they're backed by lead and brass and plutonium. You know what I mean? Like, the people have to take them, or else there's 12 aircraft carriers floating around saying, yeah, I think you're going to take our money. I don't think we're going to let you do it some other way. We also, we also gutted our own manufacturing and our own value creation within our society as well. 100 years ago, every town they had orchards, you had farms, you had fish canneries, you had sawmills, you had all of these things that employed all kinds of people. The lake that I grew up on 100 years ago, there were 300 men in 3 camps up that lake and a couple of paddle wheelers going back and forth steady. And that was just to get enough logs to float down to the lake for that season, right? Like, it was very manpower intensive. Mm-hmm. And now we've reached a point where the technology and the infrastructure and all the things that didn't exist before that make transportation more efficient have dropped the cost of doing that to the point where you just don't need that many people to do those things anymore. So technology is good in that way. We had similar problems during the Industrial Revolution when the steam engine came along.
That's right.
And people, all kinds of cottage industries disappeared, and then the technology, horses were something that poor people rode and rich people had cars, and 100 years later, only the rich can afford horses and the poor people drive cars.
And then 2 decades down the road, we had the invention or the creation of the suburbs, where the, in quote, middle class moved to when leaving the bigger cities.
That's right. When they moved to a car culture after the Second World War, and you had all this pent-up demand for consumption after, of course, the Depression and World War II, you had this expansion in the economy and in people, right? I mean, this huge boom of births. And it was, the idea was, okay, well, you could own your little piece of land, you could have your own castle, and it was in an affordable area, and you had these brand new freeways where you could take your new Studebaker and go into town and make the big city money, and then just get the heck out of there at the end of the day. And everybody worked 8 hours a day, maybe 10 if they were really ambitious, and one breadwinner could support a household and
send their kids to school, go to church on Sundays, and buy a cottage and buy a second vehicle.
That's right. And even in those neighborhoods, you had people going around delivering milk, delivering cheese, selling Fuller brushes, right? And they were making middle class incomes doing those things because it was expanding. The people were expanding as well. And I think what's happened is they've kind of taken one indication like GDP and it's like, well, we need to continue to grow the population in order to maintain economic growth. Go ahead.
Hold on. I got somebody just sent me I think it's one of those money things, whatever.
Super chat
from Randall Alexander, $2.79 Canadian. We are outsourcing our pollution to the third world. Yeah, we are doing that, but I think the third world's bringing pollution over to us too, making the junk that we buy.
Oh, absolutely, definitely. Yeah, I've said it before. The worst piece of plastic pollution in the world is a credit card. We've put trillions of dollars of purchasing power into the hands of absolute idiots.
Yep.
And it's just destroying the place.
So you were going on to GDP, and then we're going. But let me just tap into something real quick.
Sure.
I think it's grand larceny. Back to the whole corporation thing where you were just before we went to the GDP. I think it's grand larceny because it's all about delivering to the investors in the corporations now. And after the invention of the suburb, we started to see the corporation started to creep in, and the grand corporation on the grand scale of things, and oligarchs popping up everywhere that own these huge multi-platform corporations, and brainwashing the employees, thinking that a corporation, is bottom line is to make money and for us to profit and for us to grow as a team. But the problem is no one grew as a team, and now today, People are working on contract work. No one has a full-time real job anymore. Everyone's on contract or everyone's part-time, so no company has to commit to these people anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
What happened to organized labor?
Well, the organized labor, I mean, especially once a lot of that manufacturing moved overseas, precisely because it was lower cost, and not just because they're getting paid slave wages. I mean, we call them slave wages because we could never afford to eat on what they get paid there, but our money's worth more because we're more developed, basically. Mm-hmm. But once big labor emerged because of this big business, once the heavy industry left North America, organized labor, other than in the public sector, which has been a disaster, it started to wither. And now, like Unifor in Canada, I mean, they're more concerned about Pride Month than they are about getting wages up for Canadian workers.
Right.
They're not nationalist anymore. There was a certain nationalist aspect. You were protecting the workers in your country. You were looking after the interests of the working class that you were assuming stewardship over or negotiating on their behalf. And that all kind of went by the wayside. Things got too fat and happy too. I mean, the good times continued. People's hours got larger, but in the 90s, I know a lot of people in the States, they were willing to just pay more overtime rather than hire more people. They just figured it was cheaper to just have the same people work more hours and just pay them more. But that too, it inflates the cost of everything in those built-up areas where people were living. And now the suburbs there's no cost benefit to living in the suburbs anymore. Even it's gotten ridiculous.
Right. The whole purpose of the suburbs was to make it a bit affordable, a little piece of land. Get yourself out there, lay some roots, punch out a few kids, right? But now,
have a yard for the kids to play in and communities and stuff like that. But now that everyone is rolling out in the morning to go to work, the neighborhoods are empty all day. The kids are in school, they're in a daycare, and that's more people out putting downward pressure on wages by increasing the labor supply. And then, three guys gaming there said that, GDP per capita, they never focused on that. Individual productivity is basically stalled out now because you can only work so many hours in a day.
Okay. Can I tell you what I think the roadblock or the fork in the road or detour was?
Sure.
Or what our detour is, or why we've been kind of mistracked. Okay. Mm-hmm. Remember when we went through the revolution, organized work from the turn of the century up until the early 1980s when things really started to fall apart?
Yeah.
We sold our most of our manufacturing to China and stuff like that, Mexico and stuff. No biggie. But you know what the problem is? And this is what I think it is. Here it is. We do not make stuff that China wants to buy from us.
Well, that's the problem too. We have that they
have an emerging middle class of 300 plus million people, or 400 plus million people in China that are considered middle class, but they're not interested in buying anything we make. That's the problem.
Yeah, well, that's right. Yeah, we've got nothing the Chinese want to buy. I mean, they're rivals. They're rivals in geopolitics. They're rivals in finance. They're rivals in industry, and we basically made it possible for them to do that, which wasn't smart. But it did bring cheaper goods. I mean, it's been pointed out in the comments. Yeah, we still have heavy industry here. It's just there used to be a lot more, and it was a lot more labor intensive. And now that so much of it has gone offshore, all the spin-off jobs that came from that are gone. And that's a major problem too. So we've been reduced to just building houses and selling them to each other as a heavy industry, basically.
Yeah.
It's something that's expansionary.
The industry is backed off construction.
Yeah.
Okay. Construction requires material. Materials require some sort of manufacturing. Manufacturing requires some sort of import. And the imports basically, we get this little wheel going with housing, but now our housing's crashing.
Oh, yeah. Well, it never should have got to the level it did anyway. I mean, the cheap money made that possible. And of course, as prices continued to go up the way they did, I've related the instance in my own community at the time, how it went up 30% year over year for a few years.
Okay.
It creates the illusion of prosperity and expansion and growth. But all it was is just people bidding up the prices of houses to sell to each other.
That's it.
And that's all. And now it's over.
And that's want to end on the note on that. Basically, first-time buyers not getting in the market, no fresh blood, housing market's dead. Okay, we got Randall Alexander saying China is now outsourced to South Korea, Philippines, and other third world countries. What's your take on that? Do you think so?
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that as well, because China is actually, I believe, experiencing the same phenomenon we had here. People need to remember that before there was a first world, everywhere was the third world. And when the Industrial Revolution began in Europe, particularly in the UK, in the Midlands, people weren't getting paid a lot, and they were living in these brand new, row homes. You see these old Charles Dickens, these soot-covered hovels that people were living in that were all nestled cheek by jowl for street after street after street, and kids playing in the dirt in the streets and things like that. And they weren't getting paid much, but it did give them an opportunity to improve their material worth over time. It made it possible, because this industry, although it wasn't paying a lot to begin with, it drove down the cost of goods, because assembly lines and industrialization, it dropped the price, the unit price to produce an item, because you were producing millions of the same thing.
Right.
Mass
production.
Right?
Mass production
so
didn't kick off till just before the booming the roaring 20s, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's when you saw mass production, mass print newspapers going out, people getting their newspapers every morning, and that was unheard of. And people receiving their milk dropped off at their front door, and just mass producing and exporting. You know that back at the turn of the century, 1 out of 3 things on the planet was made in America.
Yeah, I believe it. And then
right at the turn of the century.
Yeah, and for 50 years before that, it was the UK. They were the workshop of the world. Yeah, I could see China beginning to outsource. I mean, because people in China are beginning to, just like happened here. I'm bringing it full circle to my original point, but yeah, people are starting to demand more money there. So you're going to have the Chinese doing the exact same thing that the corporations in the Western world have done. They're going to start outsourcing to places where they can get a better margin, and they need it, because if they see a trade with America starting to dry up or get kneecapped by tariffs, or possibly by tariffs, then they've got to find other places where they can continue to maintain a margin on their production. I mean, if we get through a major recession and we wind up hopefully with a tighter credit policy afterwards, consumption's going to drop here anyway, which, I mean, it's going to create more unemployment, but it's also hopefully going to create an environment where people will start to make things here again. It'll be on a smaller scale, and it'll be more local, but it needs to be anyway, because this idea of shipping stuff all the way across the planet to get goods made and shipped all the way to the other side of the planet it's not sustainable. Like, it's an enormous amount of energy to do that.
Well, okay. Building and consuming within our countries or within our regions is great, but the problem is, let's look at the refrigerator. Someone brought up refrigeration here in the comments. Let's look at the refrigerator. Okay. Now the thing is, right now, most people now already own a refrigerator, but in the 1940s and 50s, when refrigeration became a household thing, everybody wanted a refrigerator. So it was a booming business, right? Yeah. Now, it's getting to a point now, they're making the refrigerators cheaper and made out of junk, hopefully that they don't last long enough, so you have to go buy another refrigerator in a couple of years. Yeah,
planned obsolescence. I mean, a lot of that gets done too. It's like when Henry Ford, started producing the Model T. He got to the point that some of the cars he produced, he would buy them back at the end of their useful life, and his engineers would tear them apart, and they would look at all of the components, and they would find the ones that had worn out completely and the ones that were still in really, really good shape. And then he could take the ones in good shape and knew that, okay, well, we don't have to design these to be quite so robust. And the idea was they have a vehicle that would run perfectly for, say, 5 or 6 years, and then on the day after that 6 years was over, the thing would literally fall apart on the road and you'd go buy a new one. That was the idea, so that people would keep buying them. But but I drive a Toyota, and that thing has lasted forever, and it's absolutely bulletproof, and it's just a good car, and I like it. And you know what? I would still go buy another one, because I consider that kind of longevity and quality to be a good investment.
Okay, now very important. Corporations suddenly realize that the once coveted millennials are screwed generations. I know, you know that millennials don't have two nickels to rub together. Now, there's 80 million millennials out there. Now, back to the refrigeration, because that's we're like just talking. How could we sell fridges to these 80 million millennials that don't own a fridge? You get what I'm saying? How could they get their wages high enough so that they could buy the house that like we did back in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, and get them into the market and bring that fresh blood into the market and actually have that turnover that we're looking for to actually get them to buy a fridge. So the refrigeration, instead of building fridges to fall apart in 3 years, they actually build stuff to last because there's enough middle class buyers that are buying within our region.
Right. Well, you got to do one of two things with the millennials. Either you got to get their wages up, or you've got to get prices down, so that those two lines will intersect again. There's just no possibility of them getting the kind of money they need, working a blue collar job, unless they're going into a trade of some kind where they can buy houses and things at the prices that they want today. The price of a lot of stuff needs to come down. That needs to happen anyway, because it distorts so many other things. It's not just the price of homes; it distorts the price of everything, and people delay their futures. They don't get married. They don't have kids.
Right.
I mean, if we get to the point where we have a completely automated economy, well, then there's no reason to have an economy anymore, because if people can't work and generate value and get paid for it, who's going to buy anything? You know, Henry Ford, when he started producing the Model T, he paid his workers $5 a day. Well, you know, a $20 gold piece was an ounce of gold. So basically, he was paying each of them a quarter ounce of gold a day.
Right.
You know, I think for a 10-hour day. But part of the reason he did that was so that industrial workers could actually afford to buy what they were producing.
Exactly.
That's become kind of not their priority anymore, and it is kind of dumb. It's not sustainable.
It's not, and that's the problem, because if we actually held on course, and let's say for argument's sake, wages did go up according to production and workload. Let's just say they kept up, okay? We could go to like Thailand and buy a quarter of the country, the typical working construction worker, if wages kept up. The typical construction or mechanic could go down to Mexico and buy a villa.
That's right.
You know, and live a good life in retirement. But we're nowhere near any of that anymore. And like you said, if we don't buy and produce locally, do you remember Ronald Reagan's slogan?
Which one?
Buy a car from your brother, keep him employed?
Yeah, right. Yeah, and FDR was saying those things in the 30s too. You know, that was part of the nothing to fear but fear itself. In other words, you know, when you get paid, go out and buy something.
Right.
Don't hoard your money.
Well, but Ronald Reagan was doing it in a way where he was saying, buy a local car from a local Detroit, local domestic. Yeah. Don't buy imports. Keep our brothers working.
Yeah, that's right. And it has been pointed out in previous shows that part of the reason that a lot of this stuff went overseas is because you reached a point where the problem is you've got organized business, okay, and then you've got organized labor. And they don't tend to just be at odds in terms of negotiating with each other. They also tend to be politically at odds. So, you know, most union workers would vote Democrat, for example, and most big business would vote, you know, they might donate to everybody, but they would vote, or their adherents would vote Republican, because the idea is they're pro-business, conservative, capitalist, the rest of it. Well, Democrats weren't that far off. In JFK's time, I mean, he had nothing against capitalism. That's not what he was about at all. But they became at odds. Like, for example, you know, when commodity prices went through the roof 10 or 15 years ago, you know, there's still coal mines in England, Mike, that have been shut down for 30 plus years, and it's not because there's no market for the product. It's because the unions, the major coal miners' unions, refuse to negotiate. You know, they want wages adjusted for inflation now going back 30 years. Well, they're not going to get it. No. So those jobs are gone. Those you've got resources and production facilities that are locked down because of labor disputes. And the trouble is, a car plant you can move to China. You can't move a coal mine to China, or a steel, you know, an iron mine or something like that.
That's how we're lucky, is we can't move those commodities to another country and then extract it. Because I mean, Supreme, hand to God, I believe that if we could do that, it would have been done already, and we'd have no resources in this country because we'd been digging it out of somewhere else.
Oh, definitely. Well, we also had, and this was during the time of Harper, which really disappointed me, but there was a temporary foreign workers program, and the idea is that if the Chinese or the Japanese, whoever, bought a share in a mine, like the one I worked at, for example, or some industrial plant, they could bring foreign workers over who would work cheaper. So they would be here harvesting our resources, and we wouldn't be getting any economic spin-offs from it.
Oh,
now,
here you go.
Oh,
Keep
ahead.
talking. I got something. Keep talking.
Okay. So needless to say, there was a lot of uproar about that, but there needs to be a lot more. I would really like to see a situation where the large unions in North America, kind of got a little realistic with their people, or at least told them, if we're going to protect your rights and advocate for higher wages, you've got to demonstrate the productivity. Because I'll tell you, where I worked, they spent most of their time defending the people who are breaking stuff and not getting much done. And that's not a good look. That there needs to be a little bit of shame in that again. It's just, there were lots of good producers too.
This is
Shame.
2019 with shame. What's shame anymore? Come on, shame. You call somebody out on the floor. Hi, you stole $80 from my wallet from the locker the other day. Okay, I did.
Yeah.
Oh, aren't you ashamed of yourself? It's okay. I'll hear. It's all right. I'm just gonna go home and relax. It's like nothing happened. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So here's the article. No Canadian hires for 4 years at Chinese-owned BC mine.
There you go.
The Chinese came up and bought mines. HD Mining International building a large coal mine in northern British Columbia using Chinese workers. Will take 4 years before it hires even a single Canadian miner.
Yeah. Well, where are the demonstrations? Where are the picket lines? Where's the violence?
Yeah.
Where is it?
Try doing that in China. You know what's going to happen?
It's the nationalism.
We'll try pulling a stunt like that in China. You know what's going to happen?
Well, you'll get booted out of the country if you're like
booted. You're lucky if they don't disfigure your face for your mom, so your mom should recognize you.
Yeah, harvest your organs or drive you into something. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it wouldn't be pretty. Yeah, we like to be open for business. The problem is we've turned away from looking after our own national or even regional interests. If you include Canada-U.S. relations, I mean, we got a lot of projects done together over the years. Like the whole Columbia River has basically been dedicated by both countries to hydroelectric power. I mean, there's been a lot of cooperation between the two, and that's a pretty big project doing something like that. There was an auto pact, there was a softwood lumber pact. There was all kinds of things that we did that were actually pretty lackadaisical, and it was just to make sure that American industry had what it needed, the raw materials it needed, and we could get the stuff that we needed from them in turn. Woo! But now we're kind of, still sending raw materials to them, except now we're doing it via China, and American business has moved over there, and now they're sending the goods over to North America. But I mean, the U.S. is probably still one of the largest manufacturing nations in the world. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the heavy industry that paid the really good wages, I mean, they did kind of price themselves out. It gets to a point in time where, you can't trees don't grow to the sky, Mike. That's the thing.
Right.
I mean, if wages, and it's got a lot to do with interest rates. Mm-hmm. It's got a lot to do with comparative currencies. There are a lot of things that come into making a vehicle or a refrigerator or a lift.
If you look at the typical vehicle, let's say we could actually produce the transmission of a specific vehicle in our country, right?
Yeah.
You got clutch plates, you got metal plates, you got snap rings, you got servos, you got accumulators, you got planetary gear sets, you got cases, you got probably 22 to 3,600 parts in one automatic transmission. If we could make it in Canada and produce the valve bodies and all the pump and the torque converter and all that stuff in Canada, you don't have to do the whole car. Just give us the transmission. That'll create factories everywhere. Like not everywhere, but it created enough factories to employ maybe 7,000 employees to assemble valve bodies, to assemble technical work. And a transmission is very expensive. If you have to replace the transmission in your car, you're in a little bit of trouble. That's a couple of grand right there, right? So maybe they should just give us the transmission. Maybe not give us the whole car, just give us something, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we'll have the North American Transmission Pact or something like that, where we'll just use the gearbox Accord or something like that. Yeah, it would be nice. I just have a feeling that with labor costs and all of the extra things that go with having employees in Canada, and believe me, it's a kneecapping. Those plants would probably still be mostly automated. And it just doesn't factor into people's thinking that you might want to do it a little less technologically and just hire more actual human beings. The idea now is automation saves money on labor. Well, it does up until the point there's nobody there to buy your product. And that's kind of where we're getting to. We're all borrowed out. I mean, the growth and consumption we've seen since World War II, since the baby boomers came of age especially, has got to start throttling back anyway. It's going to have to happen. I mean, I'm not a big tree hugger myself, but like it just seems to me like we're going to destroy large amounts of the planet. I mean, and I saw in the comments someone said, yeah, well, we export our pollution to Asia. Well, the problem is when you're talking about all that coal they're burning in India and China, we seem to have this idea that as long as we're not doing that here, that we're fine. Right?
No,
it's just like you can pee in that end of the swimming pool, but the rest of it has to stay clean. Okay, guys? Yeah, no, we all share the same atmosphere. This isn't going to work out very well.
Okay, hold on. I want to ask you something. Well, I want to say something to add to what you said. Everything gets into the water regardless. Anything that we consume, anything that we make, anything we produce finds a way to make it into the water.
Absolutely, yeah, and we need to think about that too. Canada is such an enormous place, right? And we just never think about things like this. And outside of the built-up areas in the United States, they got a lot of empty land too. They don't think about things like this. You throw something in the waste, and somebody comes and takes it away, out of sight, out of mind. But eventually, yeah, it goes into the water. It goes into the water table somewhere.
It does. Eventually, everything does end up in water somewhere.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to go severely off topic because we did discuss this a few weeks back. Guys,
Sure.
Okay, well, let's just do a little plug here. Guys, welcome to the show. We got Supreme Cannon on the show. And
hey, everybody.
he is on the show tonight giving us a little insight on middle class. Who is middle class? Who believes they're middle class? We went over the definition of middle class, the noun. We went over historical middle class and political middle class and where it's at. And all we have to do is find a way for those 80 million millennials living in the United States and the 3 or 4 million or 5 million in Canada to start buying refrigerators and cars and stuff so that we could get our consumption back again in our country, right? And we got to make it locally, right? So guys, today, go back to the channel if you're bored later tonight after the show. I wanted to show you here. We discussed this on our show, and it's right here. It's a Mike in the Night show, and it's called, oh God, where'd it go? Mike in the Night, Australia, Darwin unloading new Big Brother technology. So that's a very important show from a month ago. Take a look at it, guys, because there is an article here that was just sent to me, and I think this is very important that I actually tell you guys this. It says, City of Perth rules out new facial recognition CCTV cameras, but is a surveillance by stealth. You don't know you're being watched. Look at everybody's face being watched, and everybody has a credit score over their head. Oh, yeah, it's being rolled out in Perth. You know what? In a month or two, we are gonna have to rehash this Darwinism, Big Brother movement that is happening in Australia. And I believe by 2021, all of Australia will have maybe 2-3 million cameras all across Australia watching everybody. I think everybody will be everybody will be, I guess, accounted for at all times. So if you guys want to get into that, watch last month's show and you'll see what we talked about that. This is really scary things that are happening. And tonight's about middle class. Are you middle class? But this is scary, dog. Dog. I call you dog sometimes.
Yeah. You can do that.
Okay, but my question is, I don't want to go too much off topic. We talked about this, but why is this happening? Dude, this is a big deal.
With the cameras, you mean? Well, when we talked about this social credit system in China, Ben Persons brought up some good points in the comments after the show, and there's some things I'd like to point out too that it's the part of the reason it's getting expensive to maintain these cities. They're getting to be way too big and too dense. Like it's not really that efficient anymore. Like cities, you'd build tall, to get more people into more space and things like that because the land is more valuable. Well, you're getting to the point that value is really kind of contrived. Like the amount of value they're creating other than selling things to each other and consuming things, it's getting to the point where they're just pricing, the cities are pricing themselves into oblivion, but they're also not dealing with law and order anymore. I see this thing with social credit and the cameras as a cultural breakdown. The last 50, 60 years, we got this, if it feels good, do it. Do your own thing, man, and everybody needs to be a rebel, and everybody needs to be a jerk, and everybody needs to be, creating trouble at one thing or another. And now you've got a lot of kids on the street, and older people too, who are, they throw their garbage around. They don't fix broken windows. They're not mowing their lawns. They're not maintaining. They're letting chaos start to take over. And part of the problem they have in China is these cities. I mean, most of them didn't exist 35 years ago, Mike. Mm-hmm. You got these mega cities that literally did not exist, and you've got people coming from 100 different regions in China. It's not one monolithic group, and a lot of them are just total hayseeds. I mean, they're pooping on the street. I mean, they're hawking a loogie in front of an outdoor cafe. They're just you can't get enough police on the street to write them all tickets. Giuliani managed to pull it off in New York in the 80s. I mean, it was a crap hole too. It was
that was the packing district, the old packing district. That is part, not the packing district, but around the packing district in the lower Manhattan area was an absolute disaster with the smells and the garbage and and they detrified that area and cleaned it up, and a lot of work went into making New York what it is today, and lots of I don't know, they had to move out the turn of the century mentality there.
Yeah, that's right. Well, and Times Square was just basically junkies and peep shows, right? Porn theaters and stuff. Like it was just a run-down, terrible place. And Giuliani had the police out writing tickets for spitting gum and not curbing their dogs, and telling the people to fix the broken windows in their tenements, or we'll do it ourselves and send you the bill. Like the thing is, what they were doing was they were preserving property values. They were preserving wealth by doing that. They were increasing the value of everything in the neighborhood by making people. They were restoring order.
Well, not anymore.
Right.
Cannon, when you go down to Vancouver, you're in a $1.2 million 2-bedroom condo. Nothing special, guys in the States watching this. This is not a Beverly Hills. No. It's just a regular condo for 2-bedroom for $1.2 million. You hear people pushing shopping carts at night, people yelling and fighting. You hear it all night long. You can't even open your window in downtown Vancouver.
Yeah, no, and that can't continue. But the thing is I mean, it was a lot more. I'm going to be unpopular for saying it, but it was a lot more homogenous back then too. Mm. I mean, you could let your kids walk 3 blocks down the street, and you knew that they were going to be safe. And maybe not in downtown Vancouver, but almost definitely in any smaller town. Your kids, you didn't know where they were gone all day until somebody's mom called and said, "Hi, they're here for supper tonight. They're hanging out and playing a game or something." Yeah, okay, all right. Just make sure he's home before dark, right? It's not like that anymore. And the problem is that it creates, it creates an angst in people. It creates an unhappiness. You might have clean streets and well-kept houses, and everyone's driving shiny cars, but you don't have a sense of community anymore. And that is, and if you were thinking about families and family orientation and the future, then you would have policies that would be more family friendly, more neighborhood and community focused like they used to be. These things also increase happiness, because the thing about being middle class, you want to be able to afford certain things, but if you're living in a good community, if you like the area you're in and you've got a feeling of stability there, You don't need that much. I think part of the reason consumption has gone up so much is because it's a drug, Mike. I
Yes.
think the credit card is a drug that people are using to compensate for empty lives.
Right.
And it's not sustainable. So
there's one
what
more.
are they going to do when they hit the wall and can't borrow any more money?
Well, you forgot to add one thing to it.
Okay.
Dating apps.
Oh, dating apps are terrible. Yeah, they're a terrible idea.
Dating apps.
Yeah.
When I was single, I
Yeah.
hand to God, because I'm under 5'10", and being under 5'10" is really bad when you're a single guy looking to date.
I know. There must be some rap song somewhere. That doesn't even make sense, does it?
But I messaged every girl twice on Plenty of Fish. Nobody messaged me back.
Oh yeah, no, I dipped my toe in the water, but I mean, when I became single again, I was in my mid 40s, okay, and I'd been completely wiped out and the rest of it. So it's like, okay, all right, I'm not going to be getting with supermodels. It is what it is, and I was also living in the middle of nowhere. Okay, let's just say the odds were good, but the goods were odd. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, yeah, no, I'll pass, honey, thank you. Yeah, it's, but this is the problem too. You've got these statistics saying that millennials are having less sex than any demographic, and yet STDs are climbing. So I'm thinking it's more like along the way of, well, there's a certain number of people that are hooking up a lot, and everybody else is kind of on the sidelines. Yeah, like a guy's got to be like 6 feet tall now. What does that even mean?
Well, that's important. You need to understand something. If a man's under 6 foot, for a woman, a Western woman, the man's considered garbage. He's useless.
Oh, he's a dwarf. Yeah, absolutely. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I've had to come to grips to understand that. And I thought, man, I was a good guy. I thought I'm a good provider. I thought, maybe I'm out there and travel-y type guy and I want to start a family. I guess that's, and my handicap was being under 6 foot. But it's kind of good because you know why, Supreme? It worked out for the best because now I have the best wife in the world.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's right. Your journey took you somewhere, and you found what you were looking for, and that's good. Yeah, I know, and that's the thing too with these online dating things. And okay, this is a diversion from middle class, but it actually ties in, and I'll tie it in about 10 seconds. But yeah, you got women on there that look like 200 pounds of damp flour in a clear plastic bag, and they want a guy 6 feet tall, and that doesn't even make any sense outside of the Commonwealth. The rest of the world uses metric. It's like if you're not 183 centimeters tall, don't call me. I don't want to date a dwarf. Like, it makes no sense at all. So that's why it was probably some Beyonce song. It has to be some cultural thing. This really wasn't a big deal 30 years ago.
Well, 30 years ago, a lot of the people bonded more together 30 years ago because I lived in a Portuguese community in Ontario, and everyone was Portuguese, and I don't think anyone cared. How tall you were. The women didn't care back in the day. When I lived in Mexico for 2 years, and women didn't care about men's height. That was the least thing on their mind. The most important thing was loyalty, someone to be there for them and to love and blah blah blah. They never cared about it if the guy was tall or short. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, now, like in Vancouver, a lot of people are like, well, Mike, date Asian women. Like, Chinese women are short. No, a majority of women that I met that were Chinese or of the Asian descendants, are mainly the Chinese, because a lot of Chinese, right? They would just say, no, I want a tall guy. But I'm like, you're 4'6". Yeah, but I want a guy to tower over me. It's like,
yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Just walk around on your knees then. Like, what's the problem if you want it that bad, right? Yeah. One in 6 guys on the planet is 6 feet and over. So there's an unbelievable disconnect in reality there. And yeah, it's all 100% electronic. This also ties into the breakdown as well, because you can't really have communities if you've got to go literally travel the entire planet to try to find a spouse.
Yeah.
That's a little bit ridiculous. Like, you should be able to find somebody next door. Like, who marries the girl next door anymore? Who takes off at the age of 18 to get married anymore? Nobody. They're not even thinking about that. So there's a disconnect from the idea of thinking about the future. And it's that instability and the unhappiness, plus, if people need to make those payments to buy all that stuff that's going to make them happy and fill the gap in their soul, well, then everyone's out working all day, right? And they're working 2 jobs and all the rest of that stuff.
And they're working, hold on.
And that also drives wages down.
Well, not only that, They're working to pay off a car that they got bored of after 6 months buying. They're working to buy clothes that, you know, they bought on credit cards, and they're working to pay down those credit cards, and they're buying gas to get to a job they don't like anymore because everyone talks bad about each other, and they're working in a toxic environment. So it's almost like there's so much, like, what for when it gets to it, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Anyways, okay, hold on.
There's no point to it anymore.
Hold on. Okay, guys, this is the mic of the night that I want you guys to look at later after the show. It's I'm not going off right now, but I'm just letting you guys know. It's called the Unraveling here, and this is a big news on the desk here. City of Perth rolls out new facial recognition CCTV cameras, but it's surveillance by stealth. So we'll cover that another week, and we'll get back into we'll bring up Australia and the Western world in another 3 months to follow up what's going on with facial recognition and how big it's sweeping across down under. So guys, don't forget to follow me on Minds. Supreme, have you got off? Are you on Minds yet?
I signed up for an account a couple of years ago. I've subscribed to you on I believe I'm subscribed to you on Minds.
Okay.
I should be on there.
Well, get on Minds. Supreme Cannon's going to be on there. Just Supreme Cannon, your thing with your profile picture there, and so people could find you. You know, Supreme Cannon.
Absolutely.
On Minds. So get on to Minds, guys. I love it. I'm posting on there. People are looking at my stuff. People from the show message me once in a while, ask how I'm doing. And then BitChute, guys. I'm on BitChute, guys. Come on, get on BitChute. I'm trying so hard to upload on BitChute. I upload a video, it turns gray, doesn't upload. I have two videos. I have 2 videos that I've been rendering or processing for the last 4 days now. It's hard. It's hard. BitChute is really tough. It's almost like a tug of war to get your videos up. My videos get a lot of views with only 18 subscribers. I have videos here with 90, 50, 60 views. That's not bad for a smaller platform, right? I'm also on Subscribestar, guys. If you want to follow me, I got 2 people following me on Subscribestar with 2 subscribers. Come on to Subscribestar if you want to support me for $1 a month. And profile features is I'll be your friend. I am your friend. And don't forget to join the family on Patreon. I want to thank my 6 Patreon subscribers that support and buy me coffee for Morning Coffee with Mike. And you could join many tiers here. We got the Underboss tier. We have the Consigliere. And we have the Copregamus, that's Captain. And we have Soldier, the coffee people that support me with coffee. What did you think of that, Supreme? When you came to my store, I was kind of fiddling with this page. Didn't you see that?
Oh yeah, no, I like that. That's a neat little hierarchy you've got there. That's pretty good.
I was going to use pirates.
That should actually help your cause. Yeah, you're going to use pirates originally, and you decided to go with the mob instead. I think the mob's cooler.
Yeah, the mob's cooler. They dress better. Pirates,
and they have a hierarchy.
Yeah. So I'm on Patreon too, and then what else? That's it. That's all I'm doing right now for that kind of stuff. But now I gotta start plugging myself once in a while, Supreme. I'm just really disappointed with the phasing out of bad actors on YouTube. Whatever happened to YouTube? Broadcast yourself. Be your own personality. Be your own way. Create your own. They say create your own. Basically platform, build it, grow it. That's how YouTube got me interested many years ago. Was I would get advertisings, emails saying, build your platform, get on for this, get on for that, build your own thing and create a name. And now everyone's that has done that is basically got kicked off. Hold on a sec. Elizabeth is saying, Mike, I'm praying for your dad. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Elizabeth is from Dundas and Dufferin area. In Toronto. I used to live in Dufferin and Eglinton area in a Portuguese community there. So my girl Elizabeth there in the comment section is praying for my dad. Yeah, my dad's going through a pretty tough time. He's in the hospital. I'm going to go spend the next 2 days with him, 3 hours away. And what else? Yeah. And you heard about Supreme that my business, my building sold yesterday, right?
I heard that. So they sold it, but isn't part of the selling point that there's already a tenant there? Like, do you have any idea who's moving in or what they're going to do with it?
Well, a corporation bought it.
Yeah.
And they want they bought 8 commercial buildings, and they want all tenants out by the end of July.
Oh, geez. Yeah, that's tedious, and you're having trouble getting across the street because the lady's on a cruise that owns the place, I guess, eh?
Yeah, I can't get a hold
Yeah,
of her. So
that's a conundrum, my friend. But
yeah,
yeah, worst case scenario, just buy one of those containers and put it in the driveway and jam all your store stuff in there, or pull the windows out of your garage,
yeah,
and
I gotta
just buy
figure.
yourself some time. Yeah.
Yeah, I gotta figure out what to do. It's just a Chinese. It was a Chinese corporate number, the Canadian corporation number, but it's through Chinese what was it they said? Uh, Influence, I guess, or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no doubt. It's probably the same thing as happening everywhere else. It's just one more little town slipped under the bar before they impose capital controls on everybody.
Okay. I'm gonna let you go. We've been talking for
Okay.
a long time, dog.
It's been a while. I'm not going to hog the whole show. You bet.
No. I don't mind you coming on once a week to give us your insight on what you think on what. You have a world of knowledge and learn and live and been there, done it experience, which we love
Oh
on the
yeah,
show.
sure, yeah. It's nice to compare notes, and yeah, you got a lot of great viewers here too. I am kind of hoping to hear Raven and Rattle Steve the plumber's cage. Tell him to take a day off and call in one of these days.
I talked to him a few days ago. He's just slammed.
Yeah.
And he gets home, he goes right to bed. It's like, because remember the time difference, right? So
Oh, that's right.
yeah, it's like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning in out east, right? So he's in a little bit, it's late, right? And especially
Yeah.
when you're working 15 to 17 hours a day.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So where the middle class thing is concerned, I have a feeling that middle class will be redefined to something where you can actually afford to live and accumulate some wealth, some property, and people's material expectations need to start going down anyway, because we can't continue to grow at the rates we did in the past. It has to level out anyway, especially since now China and India, their populations have been watching too much American television, and now they all want to live like Beverly Hills 90210. So we're really going to have some serious consumption problems and a lot of depleted resources pretty soon if we don't have a slowdown of some kind, accidental or otherwise. So I think the middle class will continue to exist, but it's going to have to reconfigure itself. Again, it's mostly about lifestyle, and
It's also
people are
political
changing
too. It's
on
also a political tool.
It is, and the middle class just needs to stop being a football for both sides, and they kind of need to do the things that are going to increase wealth. They need to get out of debt. They need to relocate. I live a comfortable middle class lifestyle in a tiny little village. I'm doing fine. It can be done here. It's easier to do here than in the city.
Remember my dream, like I talked to you about several times? Let's go buy 400 acres way out in the middle of nowhere and just
Yep.
everybody builds their own home. Everybody builds their thing, put a barbed wire fence, and builds our own little gardens. Build what do you call those things where you grow stuff in the winter?
Greenhouses.
Greenhouses, and
Sure.
actually build our own internal civilization. And one of us will leave to the city to get penicillin and antibiotics and stuff that we need.
That's right. Yeah, we'll set up our own town site, and we'll incorporate, and then we'll just do our thing. We'll put a wall around it, and just like some little towns I've seen in Mexico, yeah, people designate what their trade is going to be, what they're going to handle for the community, and just do something 18th century almost.
Yeah.
You can have computers and you can have electricity, and as long as you've got things that generate value, so you can get supplies and whatever you need from the outside world. Other than that, yeah, the kids can play in the streets, and everybody knows everybody else, and actually doesn't hate each other. That would be nice. It would be nice to go back to that, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right.
Okay, well, I'll hang up now.
Well, you know what, buddy?
Probably an hour, right?
Yeah, hopefully I'll see you in the next week or two. I'll be at the shop, and or next week or 3 when you get some time to come by through Merritt. And I'm gonna let you know when I secure a deal with another place, and then maybe you could come and hang out and just hang out with us.
Absolutely. I'll grab a pickup out of the yard. I'll find something to come along and help haul stuff or whatever you need, man. Just let me know.
Okay, brother. Thanks so much.
Okay. All right. God bless everyone, and talk to you soon, Mike.
All right. God bless you.
Okay. Bye.
That is Supreme Cannon, my right-hand man. Oh, yeah. Middle class. Are you middle class? Do you feel middle class today? Do you How do you call, what do they call it today, those millennials? I feel like I am, what do you call it when they say that? I feel, or I describe myself as middle class, or how do they say it? I feel like I feel like I'm 21. Okay, put that on my driver's license. Graças a Deus. This is David Gay. Charlie Brown says it's all and well saying relocate. Australia does not have affordable land or homes anywhere. Yeah, I know, guys. I'm talking about the movie The Village, where a bunch of people got together. They were sick and tired of the city, and they created a 1820s civilization that they lived in, with axes cut in wood, no motorized anything, no electronics, and no electricity. And people lived in the 1820s, but they didn't know what was outside because they raised their kids in that. Yeah, watch the movie The Village. I think Joaquin Phoenix is in it. Really good movie. Yeah, Charlie Brown says off-grid town. Build a big ass. You just like maybe 40 kilometers, because you don't have vehicles, right? 40 kilometers out, like if you buy a big piece of land, 40 kilometers out, you just barbed wire fence it and call it a nature preserve on the outside, and no trespassing, and that's it. Yeah. And someone's saying Fallout 4 style. All right, so are you middle class? Do you believe you're middle class? What puts you in middle class? We were discussing the social hierarchy of middle class. Let's see if Charlie Brown is still around. I hope he's okay. He never answers his phone though, but I'd like to know is he Hello? Hello?
Can you hear?
Hello? We got internet issues here. We got connection issues, my friend. We got connections issues with Charlie Brown.
You hear me, Mike, or not?
Yeah, I can hear you perfectly now. What's up, dude?
Not much, man.
Are you happy that I'm on Minds, BitChute, Subscribestar?
I'm excited. Woo!
Woo! Hold on.
It's good. BitChute is just going off at the moment, man. It's the last 2 weeks. It's just getting so much traffic, so many more people, and the censorship has become blatantly obvious around the world for everyone now. There's been stuff in the papers and news in the last couple of days that the Pinterest got busted for censoring people that were on the right, conservative, and like anti-abortion. And Pinterest were labeling these people as like not safe for work and porn. So they were like defiltering them off the system. But what old mate was saying before that you just had, like, I don't think the off-grid town solution will work.
Come on, man, you gotta believe in me, I say.
No. It will work if the people setting up the town can replace the law system. Because we cannot go as a society if we continue the current law system.
Oh, no.
It is that broke.
No.
Like,
but I'm talking about like I'm talking wilderness, and there's no taxation system. We are in wilderness. We fenced off a piece of land, and we're gonna call it some agricultural inhabited land. Nobody knows what's around. You got 20 miles of trees, and then we got our little village in the middle, and that village will have well water, everything we need, and all the kids growing up will grow up in the 1800s basically, because we will have no electricity, no means of anything, and there will be one person that will leave to the city once in a blue moon that nobody knows, and he'll have to hike out of the city, out of our town, through the woods, over the fence, and with our makeshift vehicle that's out there, that go out and get us medicines and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's sort of like a combination of Amish and a little bit of technology. But again, like, even the Amish, the only way they work is they have their own law system built into the religion to keep women in check.
Woo! Okay. All right. So now,
and this is the problem. This is why Western society and marriage is failing, because women aren't held accountable. The South Africans that come in the Western countries aren't held accountable. Islam isn't held accountable. So the only people at the moment that are held accountable is Western males, because the corporations aren't, the government isn't. So the only ones actually held accountable to the law in full extent are Western males, and they're the ones getting screwed over.
Yeah.
And marriage has changed deliberately in the last 30 years. It's turned into socialism. Like, divorce is a way to redistribute Western wealth from men to women. And all women have to do is put out, have a kid, and then men are forced to give their resources to women. Yet women are never held accountable when they break the law.
Okay,
there are so many times in the last.
We're getting into MGTOW right now. We get it. We did this
but,
show.
But it all comes in, like marriage, homes, the banking system, loaning. It's all intermixed, because if you don't have marriage working, you don't have cities working, you don't have middle class working. Like, and you can see in the last 30, 40 years, we went from local communities and the men go working and the women stay home. Like,
well,
and now we have both parents.
The women weren't allowed in the workforce at the turn of the century, so they needed to find a good man that had a good job, because they wouldn't be hired.
No,
right?
That's bullshit. I disagree with that. It's been law in Australia and overseas that, like, from the 70s, both male and females get the same pay for the same job.
No, I'm talking about the turn of the century. I'm talking about 1915.
Maybe back in the 50s and 40s and 30s.
Oh,
and
no,
that,
I'm talking about 1915. Women basically could not get into the workforce back in that time. It was very
maybe
tough.
Then, but we've seen it go too far to the other extreme. It's like it's gone from them not having all the rights to them now having more rights than men, and never being accountable and getting all this stuff for free on a platter and never having to work for it.
Okay, now let's get back.
So we've gone to the extremes, and it has affected Western society.
Right.
Because you see it in America at the moment. Women, the left are trying to push for women to have all the debts removed from university. So they can go to university, get a stupid arts degree or a drama degree or all this bullshit that they have these days. And then they get their debt paid off. So they get like 100K paid off for free because they're female.
Yeah,
and all they have to do is then get a guy pregnant, divorce him, and they get his house.
Yeah, I understand.
It's a complete scam.
Guys, if you want to see more about this, what Charlie's talking about, we watched the Mike in the Night show live, Mike in the Night live, MGTOW, Men Going Their Own Way episode here, where we get people calling in and telling us their stories. So it's on Mike in the Night here. If you want to watch it, it's right here. The Truth About MGTOW, Mike in the Night, MGTOW call-ins from a month ago. Watch that show. We got a lot of call-ins there. And Charlie's on that show, actually, and a Pillow Box is on there. Lots of people called in. Supreme Cannon called into that show. That was a pretty good one. Okay, hold on. Charlie, calm down, buddy. Take a breath, okay? Okay. Okay, buddy. Are you middle class?
I don't think we actually have a middle class anymore. I think in Australia, we now have, in most of Australia, we have like the lower income to middle class is all merged into one. Because like all the middle class was typically just in a 3-bedroom, 1-story home in the suburbs. And
so
I guess
what you're telling me is that slave and servants and merchants are pretty much in the same class.
Yeah, because when you actually look, well, if you look at Brisbane, for example, which is a typical place in Australia, like in the inner city area, the rent is like, it can be anywhere from $600 to $2,000 a week. But once you leave the city limits, it then goes to, $300 to $450 a week on no matter where you are in the main part of the city, like just outside of the city hub, the CBD. So it doesn't matter if you're in a rich suburb or a poor suburb, the rent is the same pretty much now, unless you're actually right in the middle of the city. And more, I see it like, I used to be actually like rich years ago, made some bad decisions, and now I'm in the like lower income spectrum, and that was my bad decisions and some other crap that happened. But I'm seeing it more and more. Like heaps of guys that used to be in well-paying IT jobs are leaving, and they're moving to like regional towns up the coast to Sunshine Coast, and yeah, they're just trying to find easier job that is less stressful, because the IT wage hasn't moved since '99. So they're now actually going to like truck driving, courier driving,
Right.
factories, all these like easy tradie type jobs, I guess you would say, which start at like $31.50 an hour, and you work less hours, you get paid more per hour, and you have less responsibility. Or
Lesser
you can go back to
responsibility.
IT.
Yeah, you don't have to Mickey Mouse after work. You don't have to Mickey Mouse and think about stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and yet IT is still $25 to $28.50 an hour, and yet you're busting your gut from 8:30 to 6:30 every day. They want you to come in on Saturdays as well. You're arguing with the management all the time because they don't want to spend the money correctly in the right department, and like often in IT they don't want to mass import stuff. So yeah, it's a stressful sector, and like heaps of guys are just getting out of it, finding something easier.
Right. Well, I don't blame them. You know what I'm saying? It's like I know I've been watching a lot of advertising up here in Canada. Okay, we got a Randall Alexander. Shout out to him who sent some money through what do you call that chat thing?
Super chat.
Yeah. Change gender to female. On paper only, get benefits. I don't think that's
a
legal.
few people have done that in Canada. That was that I think Lauren Sutherland lady. She changed her gender officially on paper to male, I think it was, or something else. She like changed it anyway, and she got heaps advantage paying for rego and stuff. And then there was one recently in America that he changed his gender to female, and he said, "Oh, I'm a female on Wednesdays." And then they had to employ him because he self-identified as a female. I mean, this is all the crap that's infecting it. Like it annoys me that no one in the last 30 years has had the stones to call this out and say, no, we're not allowing this crap. We're employing people Charlie, on merit and qualifications and skill and your work experience, not because you're male or not because you're female or not because X. We're going back to equal opportunity and merit, not because of who you are, basically.
Right. But Charlie, the only problem is we're in the information age. I have my own talk show. You're on my talk show. We're talking. We're having fun. But the problem is we're at a point where we just can't say what we really want to say anymore. We got to a point where, yeah.
That's because too many people for years, and this all started with political correctness. The whole point of political correctness years ago, this is like 30, 35 years, was to self-censor, to stop debate, to stop ideas, to get everyone to self-censor. And when that hasn't worked, you just kick out men. Oh, men did something, and this is with all these false claims. Women have changed, well, Marxist women, which are feminists, have changed the law in a system that men are now guilty before innocent. Mm-hmm. And they have so much systematic power that you can just fire men willy-willy. Like, I think it's going to get to a stage that we'll have a lot of businesses that'll be 100% men, because it'll be safer for those men than to have a single female in the place. And that will end up like being at women's detriment because no one actually stood up for the proper right-wing Western society structure.
Well, here's the deal. Look, okay? A lot of people are still in that stage where they're scared to be called a racist publicly, right? That's the problem. A lot of people are scared to be called a racist, to be called out as a racist for something that's not racist, right?
So the thing is, all these isms and phobias and stuff, it is just to shut down debate and to kick out anyone they don't like. Like the amount of stuff that gets called racism is it's beyond a joke. I mean, this is what amazes me. Crying wolf, racist, still works. It's just like, if you actually objectively look at all this crap, you get to laugh. You get to laugh because it's just so, I don't know. We need a new word for all this stuff happening, which is like past stupid, past retarded. Like it's just so ridiculous. It's gone far. Like we don't even have a proper word to how bad it is.
Well, yeah. Okay, so.
But all this stuff is affecting Western society. Like we're heading in a direction that I cannot see Australia, New Zealand, and Canada last in the economy past 2025. Like, we're going to fail.
I'm totally on board with you on that. That's exactly where we're headed right now, right? It's a sinking ship, and a lot of the rats are ready to jump ship, and a lot of the people that don't have a yacht or a boat or a life what do you call it? One of those lifeboats. They're screwed, and we're the ones looking for the lifeboats. And what do we do?
Honestly, I think the only thing that a rational person can do now, if you have some money, leave the cities. Like, find, as the other guy was saying, find a regional area, a country town, move off grid, don't use the main power grid.
Yeah, well, you were on a survival show.
Yeah, like, living off grid is going to save us in the long run. I'm in Australia, Laura. Because, the system will fail. Like, they're even trialing it over in parts of America last week. They've just cut the power deliberately to see how it would go. So we are going to end up with the, STHF situation between 2025 and 2030. Like, this is the goal of the Marxist left, is to destroy Western society before 2030.
What did you gauge?
This is why they're doing globalism and open borders, and even back in Australia in the 70s, they're now finally admitting that it was a deliberate thing by the EU, not the EU, the UN, to remove 30% of Australian manufacturing and transfer it over to China. Like, this stuff has been in the works since the 50s.
Right, since after World War II. Let me ask
you.
It
was like income tax. Income tax was invented in World War II to give them a bit more income.
Was signed into law. I think it was in 19 just after World War I. President Woodrow Wilson.
It must have been between World War I and World War II. But in that time frame, because all the men were not working, they were in the war, so they needed an extra way of getting more money. But even back then, they were like, "Oh, we'll get rid of it after the war." It's still around today, and this is what annoys me with the GST systems with so many countries. Well,
it was a war relief. It was a relief for the war. It was a relief for the war to help pay for the war and to pay for the rebuilding after the war. But that taxes that were put in, was just for that. We have GST here in Canada, the government sales tax. That was only to pay off our deficit. And that was in the 80s. And they still haven't taken it out 20 years later.
Yeah, no, they apparently, Australia copied the GST off New Zealand, and they were like, at the time, they were like, oh yeah, this is going to fix everything because we're too taxed in Australia, and we're going to get rid of all the taxes, and we'll just have one flat 10% tax. And I'm like, great, this will be good. Everything will come down, and we'll have one equal tax. And it turns out they just kept all the old taxes, added GST, and then since GST, they've added more. And like, even this one guy, David Lylam, from one of the parties, which is a small right-wing one coming up in popularity in the last few years, even he discovered we've got local manufacturing tax to force Australians to buy local manufactured cars for the last 5 years, that we haven't had any local manufacturing cars here. And it's the same as luxury tax for cars. We've got that to force people to buy non-luxury cars, yet we haven't had any cars. And like, that one thing should be illegal, and whoever set it up and kept it in power for this long should be arrested, should have to take it out. And David tried to bring it up, and they shut him down. And, they were like, oh, you're racist, you're this, you're that, blah, 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 blah. And nothing got done. Like, I think the whole Western society structure as a system just needs to go completely tits up. We need to remove all the corruption. We need to reset it and go, right, one flat 10% tax or 15% tax, whatever it is, with GST, and no more other taxes. And we need to go back to currency based off gold, and we need to remove all the extra crap added to the courts and the police, all this like diversity and Duluth model. You hold every single person individually accountable to the same standard. No more free pass for Islam, no more free pass for black people, no more free pass for women. Everyone held accountable to the same standard.
Exactly. That's all we're asking for. We're not asking them to change water into wine or anything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's frustrating because so many people can see where it's gone wrong and find solutions, and yet the Marxists have replaced every single system in Western society,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't seem, at least in Australia, any system in place to remove a corrupt, evil government. Because, like, in Australia, you got three main parties. They're all left-wing Marxists.
Mm-hmm.
UK is the same. Three main parties, left-wing Marxists.
Mm-hmm.
Canada, you've got a left-wing Marxist. New Zealand are left-wing Marxists. They're all pushing globalism. They're all in league with the UN.
I hear you.
It's going to go tits up. Like, everyone should start leaving the cities if you can afford it. Go off-grid. I'd say buy $500 to $1,000 of gold, $500 to $1,000 of silver, and have enough food for a month.
Okay. Well, Charlie, I'm going to thank you very much.
It's going to get worse before it gets better, but everyone should be prepared and willing to admit that this is going to happen.
Oh, it will. Yeah, it was in the other show. I'm gonna introduce people to other shows that I had here that you were on. We're talking about survival and stuff. So I'm coming up to the second hour here. I'm gonna let you go, brother. We'll have you on next week. We're gonna think of why don't you message me on Skype and give me a topic for next week.
No worries. I'm also on Minds and BitChute too.
I know.
Browning.
So you messaged me on there. I know. I appreciate that. Take a breather, relax. And we'll have you on next week, and we'll see what we could talk about next week, okay?
Alrighty. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks,
All
brother.
the best, everyone.
Yeah. That's Charlie Brown. If you want to see more of him, he was on the Mike and the Night Survival of the Fittest show. The Survival of the Fittest, we talked about off-grid living. He was on the show here for a good while, talking about survival, what you need to buy, what you should have in your survival bug out bag, survival needs, survival wants, going off grid, how to get off grid, who should get off grid, what to expect when going off grid. So Charlie Brown played a big part in this show here. And then we got, where's Mike in the Night? So you go up to my channel, you'll see the carousel here, Mike in the Night, the new generation. There's that one. There's Mike in the Night, your predictions and call-ins. Charlie Brown also called. Supreme Cannon called on that one. I think the Raven called on that one. So a lot of people called into this show giving us their predictions for the next 5 to 10 years. So, yeah, I wanted to throw this out there to let you guys know we've already discussed. Anon was in the comments saying, oh, Mike, you got to stay on, you just can't stay on topic. We specifically try to stay on topic so we could talk about the death of the pension. We could talk about is marriage dead. We could talk about tariffs. This way, people could archivally go back into the different shows, see what we talked about, see what our opinions were at the time, and what we kind of, somebody's calling me here. Hi, Sing. Hello?
Hey Mike, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. Is it a good time to talk? Like, I just wanted to just to see what's going on. What's the topic today?
Oh, you're live right now.
Oh, okay. So what's the topic for today?
Middle class. Are you middle class?
Yeah, I would consider myself middle class.
Why?
Because I would say like I have a decent job, and I have a car, and I think anybody who has one or the other is, I think anybody who has a net worth over 500 or 600K is, I think, considered middle class.
Okay.
If you add all your assets, if you were to sell all your assets today, and I think you can consider yourself middle class. If you're less than 250K, you can say you're in the lower middle class. And if you're less than like $10,000, then I'm not sure about that. That's very low end. But it depends on the job too. So some people, they come into the country, they have like $2,000 in their pocket, but they have a good job. That's fine. But if you're living in a city like Toronto, and I was just calculating that even if you make the minimum wage, which is around $14, I think. Yeah, it's $14.
Mm-hmm.
And in that case, I would say living here in like city of Toronto, it's very, very hard.
Yeah.
Um, I think the basements now, right now, are going around at least for one bedroom, it's going for 1100, 1200 if you're lucky.
Yeah. So,
And if you want to get it close to your place or whatever, right? Um, that's if you want to get your own place with like a kitchen in the basement. And if you make around, I think after taxes, there's a site called PayScale. It tells you how much money you make, how much you will get at the end. I think you'll get around $900 bi-weekly. So even if you get like $1,800 a month, you're basically like you're not saving a lot.
well, you're not
So,
saving anything if you want to go out to see a movie and buy popcorn.
well, I mean, you can spend a little bit here and there, but you're right. The food is expensive.
Randall Alexander saying 46% of Canadians are $200 away from bankruptcy. I covered that article a few days ago, and I touched on it a few days ago, but I covered it originally a few months ago when it first hit the headlines. So, are you $200 away from insolvency yourself?
Not that I can say no.
No, okay, so you're okay then. You're okay. All right. Yeah, you're just hitting the end of my show. What are you doing? It's 3 o'clock in the morning. You're still awake, or 2 o'clock in the morning?
Yeah, I just would just go. I went to the gym. So I've been trying to lose weight, and I actually lost a lot of weight.
But it's 2 o'clock in the morning.
Well, I was just at the gym. I just came out of the gym and couldn't sleep right now, so I
Oh,
was just watching your show. So thought I'd go on the show as well.
yeah, middle class, and that's what we're talking about. Middle class, middle class, middle class. Who is middle class?
But I'll
Who?
tell you one thing, Mike, because I'm from India, so I'll tell you middle class you can determine in a different way. If you were in India and you're middle class, you can live like king. You know that?
Yeah, it would be like the middle class that we had, let's say, in the 1920s in America.
I'm not sure how that was like, but I can tell you how it is like there and right now. If you were in middle class in India, you can have a servant who will serve you, cook your food, basically make your food, bring your like bring all the vegetables, clean all your washroom, do all your laundry, clean your house. You'll have a room for him. You'll pay him probably around $300, $200, and you can live a decent lifestyle. And $200, $300 is good for him,
Yeah,
in those countries. So it all depends. Like over there, people don't have jobs, so you can live like a king. I mean, a lot of people do that. They have servants at their house, and people are not really doing anything. They're just waking up in the morning, 9:30, having a breakfast, go to work, come back, you know,
yeah,
have a dinner. All right, watch a movie here, go there, enjoy with family and friends, and just have a blast.
yeah,
You
yeah,
it all depends. Here, you can't have that lifestyle. I mean, you can technically, but you need to make more money.
yeah.
Either you do it, you make money doing, you know, you have to do it in a very aggressive way. Like you have to, even if you want to buy, like, let's say, a condo, invest it, you have to do it at a very high amount. Over there, you don't have to do it at such a high amount. You have there's a value for the currency. It's same thing like U.S. U.S. has a value. We were just going to Washington last year, and we stopped by on like McDonald's, and I think the whole food for me and my wife cost like it was like $7 or $8, and we're surprised if we went here, it would cost us like friggin' 14, $15 easily.
Oh yeah.
So the
Your buying
value.
power. U.S. buying power is better. You have more buying power in the U.S.
Definitely. And I was just thinking, I don't know if I told you this, Mike, but the best place for weather, because weather matters.
Yeah,
Not for some people, it doesn't. But I've been living in. I used to live in Ottawa, and now I moved to Toronto. Toronto. You can say it's a little bit milder in winter. It's not that cold. But you get all that wet snow, and it's like dirt all over the time flies here. And I I'm just fed up living here for 15 years. People in the winter, they don't go out. They're just sitting at home. And you become the same way. You become the reserve.
You know, that's what happened when I lived in Toronto. I always felt when I was a child growing up into my late teens when I left and went on my own, I always felt that the winters were almost like a prison sentence, almost like you're being punished.
Yeah.
That's how I
So
felt winters were. You're being punished. And I lived in Florida for 5 years. I lived in Mexico for 2 years. I lived all kinds of places. And now in Vancouver. And now I'm here in Merritt. I'm happy because we have 4 seasons. Our spring hits second week of March, and it's spring. It's like 13, 14 every day. And then now we're like super 30 degrees right now. It's been 30 degrees every day for the last couple of weeks. It's been really hot here. And we got March, April, May, June, July, August, and September. October is nice.
I was just looking at it. I was just looking at the weather. There's a website called weatherspark.com.
Mm-hmm.
You can compare any single city. They have so many cities. You can compare it to any single city, like up to 4. They have data for like 40 for 50 years. And yeah, you're right. I was just looking at it. They have all the precipitation, the amount of sunshine you get, what days. It's the data is very accurate. You can say you can compare it with anyone. You're right. Merritt does have good weather. It's similar to Kelowna, actually.
Kind of, yes. Here it
and
is,
you
Merritt, BC.
Then there's not that much rain in Merritt. Not a lot of precipitation. So yeah, I mean, I agree with you. But the only issue, Mike, is for a lot of people, you can't really get a good job in Merritt. Like, if somebody can get it, great.
No, but you see, think like I do, okay? Think like me. For me, it's like, oh, Mike, you're gonna go to you're gonna immigrate back to Portugal. Or you're gonna go to Portugal with your family. What are you gonna do there for work? I bring the work. I am the work. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna go look for a job. I do my thing.
But that's gonna take time. That's gonna take a lot of time.
No,
Eventually,
if you know people, if you're connected and you know people.
That's true. Mike,
Believe me.
I see you are on the site. If you change that Fahrenheit to degrees and you click on the compare, you can compare literally to any city. Click on, where it says Fahrenheit, just change it to degrees and kilometers.
Yeah, okay, I see it there. Kilometers per hour, yeah.
Change it to that and then just put compare to, let's say you want to compare it to Vancouver or you want to compare to, any other city.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm looking at it here. That's pretty cool, man.
And you can, and just click on compare.
Okay, where's compare?
On the top.
There it is.
Top. Yeah.
And then we're going to add Toronto.
Yeah.
Okay, watch this. And I'm going to add North Pole. Okay, North Pole. Now, look at this. Okay, we got Toronto in blue. We got Merritt. So Merritt's up here. The temperature nice and warm. Starts early. Look at the North Pole right here. And look at Toronto. How they're so close together.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Look, let me get rid of Merritt. Okay? Let's just go with North Pole in Toronto. Look at the North Pole.
Yeah.
You see that?
Yeah.
It's cold there, dude, in Toronto.
Yeah. You know what's the best city? I was looking around. Like, there's not. It's not only just the cities. You can even check the villages or whatever. They have, like, if you click on their maps search, you can go to so many other cities too that are that you can only find in Google Maps for something.
Look at this. The average monthly snowfall is like almost in par.
Yeah. So
from the North Pole.
Yeah, and you have all the data. Well, when it gets too cold, it doesn't. The precipitation is less in those areas. You know that, right?
Mm-hmm.
When it gets above 30 degrees, minus 30, the precipitation is not gonna be that high. And that's because it gets too cold. The clouds just don't form around those areas. But what's the best place? What's the best place for weather, Mike?
What?
That's San Diego.
Yes, Saint Diego. Yeah, San Diego's nice. I've been there. It's on the Tijuana Mexican border area.
And I was just looking at the houses there. They're not that expensive.
Yeah, 440, 425.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering if somebody gets a job there, they have perfect weather, they get a good job. What else you need?
Well, the problem with San Diego is when I was, well, it's not when I was there, I was being told about San Diego, is that there's a lot of tent cities there.
What kind of cities?
Tent cities. I'll type it in here so people can see it. Tent cities. Tent city San
Is it like the ghetto?
Diego. No, worse than the ghetto. This cities, tent cities like this. The streets are completely like this. The streets are filled with people like this. Like I'm talking about tens of thousands of people. I'm not talking about 3-4 people. Tens of thousands like this. You watching? You watching the screen? Are you watching me?
Yeah, I see that, yeah.
Right there. That's what San Diego has a lot of.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, a lot. I'm not talking like 3-4 blocks. It's poverty levels. Like, look at one of the major boulevards. Look at that major street with buses and everything. Look.
But that, I was just looking at their video on YouTube. Like, there's a street.
Yeah, they're gonna stream you a live street that looks good and clean, and your girls with mini skirts. Yeah, you're gonna see that. But when you look at the reality of San Diego, look, this is an on ramp for the highway. This is a major on ramp. If you're in this city if you're in San Diego and you need to get on the on ramp, you're gonna pass by all those tents.
But I'm guessing those are illegals, Mexican that are...
Nope, not even. It's a lot of Americans that have been priced out of the market. A lot of Americans that just can't get employment.
Has that problem been fixed yet, or is just?
Oh no, we're far from this getting fixed. We're far. We're looking at there's going to have to be huge change in things.
So what I find here, Mike, I feel that in Canada, like this is happening in India too. Like they would do a lot of quantitative easing. Long time ago they did that, and then they did the demonetization, and now things are kind of cooling off, and things are not that crazy as they used to. But property prices went up crazy in India, but there's a lot of demand. There's so many people. Mm-hmm. But here in Canada, I'm noticing not exactly the same thing happening, but what I'm noticing is people are the rich are kind of getting richer, and the poor are kind of staying poor, and they're getting poor, but they're getting slowly. It didn't used to happen like that in Canada.
Oh, in Canada, all you needed 20 years ago was a full-time job, and you had everything.
Yeah. Well, I have a full-time job, but I don't have everything. But
no, but I mean 20 years ago.
Yeah, you're right. Unless you're in the IT field, unless you're making over six figures.
Oh, I'm talking before internet even had a modem. We had modems on the computer. I'm talking about back in the 1987, 88, 89. All you need to do was get a good job, decent job, sweeping streets or janitorial job at the university, making $800-900 a week. Believe it or not, you got paid that much back in the 80s, and you live a good life. Now you get paid $800-900 every 2 weeks or every week there, and you can't afford to live.
Yeah, but you know what, Mike? I think I was telling you this before. I have to blame government for some of the things because
of course you gotta blame government because they're making the choices for us.
Yes, because they learn late. That's the problem. They're learning when the damage has been done.
No, they know the damage has been done, and they know what's happened through history. That's why they're trying to erase history and erase what happened before, so they don't. So they repeat their mistakes.
In Toronto, for example, the housing market, when it went up, they put all those taxes and all this stuff. Right now, they have the immigration so high. They have so many international students coming. It's unbelievable right now, the amount of international students they have coming. Because, the Saudis, a lot of students left from Saudi. You know that, right?
Right, I know, yes.
When that thing happened. And they're just trying to compensate for all of that. They're making a lot of private colleges to international, and they're coming in flood. Just watch in September, it's gonna be flooded with a lot of international students. You go to gas station, it's all international students working here in Toronto.
Yeah. That's kind of
And what I'm noticing is the government is not providing the accommodations. And what I mean by that is, let's say there's 80,000 people coming into Toronto. They were just saying there was 80,000 people coming into Toronto, and are they building 80,000 units? Or not 80,000 units, but 80,000 or whatever, 40,000 or 50,000 units for those 80,000 people who are going to be living there.
Well, if Toronto kept its course back in the 1990s when they said they need to build 46,000 units a year, they would be on target today. But they stopped doing that in the mid and late 90s, and they dwindled with the last housing recession, and they stopped building like they used to. If they stayed on target, we'd have enough housing, but the problem is affordability. That's the problem. The housing exists. The housing is always there, and it always will be there. But the affordability. And that's why today's show is about middle class. Who is middle class? Can you rent a renter? You know what I'm saying? Working class, middle class, social class. Who's the king? How do you consider yourself the king?
So I'll give you one example. There's Mattamy is biggest one of the biggest home selling in Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, they're a construction company. They build homes.
Mm-hmm.
So they were releasing about 100 homes here in Brampton West, not the east, the cheaper part or the outside part on the suburb of Brampton, which is they were selling like detached home, like I would say around 2,800 square feet or about 800K, not that expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I would say in this market right now they're not that expensive, and all the upgrades, granite, hardwood, everything is included, and plus additional upgrades. So people were thinking, hey, I probably can't really go wrong in this because the price seems okay, reasonable at in this market, and they're giving a lot of upgrades, and with the new house you can't really go wrong, because it's brand new, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, you got to be careful with the builder too, so because they might use some cheap material. If you've been following my channel, you see what's happening in Australia with those towers they've been building. They're having a lot of problems with cutting corners.
Mattamy is a very reputable.
Yeah, they're like Green Park homes in the States.
Yeah.
Oh,
so,
let me throw something in there real quick.
Yeah.
San Diego, this is from last week. They're having a hepatitis A outbreak, and they're having a typhoid fever outbreak in the San Diego area.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so middle ages or turn of the century flus and fevers are going around because of the sanitary conditions that these people are living in these 10 cities. This is from 2 days ago. Inspectors find deplorable conditions in Skid Row.
Maybe perhaps I won't go there then.
Well, you have to go on vacation. When people ask me, Mike, where should I move to work? Take a vacation for 2 weeks there. Explore. Take in the lights. Take in some shows. Go on the outskirts. Go look around. Talk to people on the street. Go out and have fun. Enjoy. Look around. Look through the malls. See what kind of people you're going to be living with before you make a move like that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you.
Yeah. So, anyways, I'm going to let you go, guy, because I'm falling asleep. You should be in bed because it's like 3 o'clock in the morning there.
Yeah. But, Mike, I just wanted to finish that.
Yeah,
so I was telling you that what happened was when we went there, they're saying, come on Monday. On the site, it said that to come on Monday at 11 o'clock. So I said, sorry, it was 10 o'clock. So when I went there, I went there around I was just there early, 9:30. There was a huge lineup. This was in February. There was a huge lineup of people, just to go and give their check, just to book their house. And there was about 450 people there. And there was only 100 of these homes that need to be sold.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I hear you.
And even when they opened the doors, they just said right away that like in 10 minutes they said, all the houses are sold. Just there's nothing here. Just go.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people were arguing. And then I looked online, they actually made a list for some of these 100 people. And no, and they didn't even communicate it. Matme didn't even communicate it with all the other people that we were going to sell these house, and there was a separate list for all these other people. So just imagine there was 450 people and they only released 100 homes. So I'm just thinking there's so much demand. There's so much demand. So why is the government not adding more supply? This issue
Well, it's
can
not
be
the government's job to build housing, right? The government's job is to create an economy so that people could go out and buy some land and build their own house if they have to.
I have spoken to so many realtors here, and they say it's the government to blame, like the municipality. They're
Oh, yeah,
not
the red tape. You talking about building permits and all that Mickey Mouse crap.
building permits. They're not giving because they have to add the sewages pipes and all that stuff. They're not they're not expanding. They're not going fast. They're going too slow, and they're just delaying, and just not giving. Sometimes they're not even giving permits. They're just telling people to fuck off.
Yeah.
You know. So it's just what it is. It's just I don't know why is there such a delay. I mean, I know there's different parties for municipalities, for provincial level, and for federal level. They're not integrating with each other very well. I mean, Doug Ford seems like he's trying to do something, but it's not really, like there was a highway 413 that was supposed to be like they were doing some environmental studies. There's so much traffic here in Toronto. Even if you're middle class, you're not living a good lifestyle. You're just spending 2 hours on traffic every day. Just imagine if you spend 2 hours on traffic every day and 8 hours to work. That's 10 hours.
You know how much time I spend in traffic every day?
How much?
3 minutes or 10 minutes a day by choice. I could walk.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Mike, have you lost a lot of weight? I see you. You look like you lost some weight there.
Yeah, I did. I have lost, I think, 14 or 15 pounds now.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're following a diet where you only eat for 8 hours a day?
No, I eat from 12 to 8 every day.
Yeah.
And starting in July, I'm going to start eating from 12 to 7.
Yeah.
And then in August, I'm going to start eating from 12 to 6. And I'm just going to keep it like that for the rest of my life.
Don't you think that's a little too aggressive?
No, because I eat what I want in those in those 6 hours. I could eat 4 times in those 6 hours.
But the thing is about that is you have to eat it in very small portion too. So
I eat whatever I want to eat. I don't care. And then it gives my body breathing room for like 15, 16 hours of breathing room.
Yeah. So are you eating a lot of sugar too?
No, I don't like sugar. In my coffee, I have maybe one donut here or maybe a little bit of ice cream with the kids, but I don't eat a lot of sugar. No.
All right, you gotta stop with the donuts, man.
No, donut's good for you. It actually, helps build.
Mike, if you eat 5 donuts a week, you'll gain 1 pound.
Oh, I don't eat 5 donuts a week. I have 1 donut every 4 days or a week.
It adds up,
Come on, dude.
If you want to see results, you gotta let those things go, man.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
And you work out too, or?
Yeah, I have 3 kids.
But you gotta hit the gym, man.
No, I have a gym in the house. I don't use it that much. I have a gym. I have a treadmill, a step climber, all the free weights. I have everything, but I use it sometimes.
I see. Sounds good.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna let you go because I want to go to sleep.
Okay, definitely, Mike. Have a good one.
God bless you. Bye.
Bye.
All right. So we got quite a few people call in tonight. Successful show as usual. It is 2 hours and 24 minutes into the show. Last plug for myself. I deserve it. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Mike in the Night. So last week's show was tariff wars. The death of the pension the week before. Is marriage dead the week before that. Then we have your story. Then Mike in the Night unloading new Darwin type, not Darwin, I keep calling it Darwin. In Darwin, Australia. Now we got this new, where was that article? City of Perth is now getting new facial recognition CCTV cameras. So that is very interesting. So if you want to roll back to last month's show, mass exodus, and the truth about MGTOW, men going their own way. Mike and the Night, survival of the fittest, if you want to watch that with Charlie Brown, talking about that. And yeah, we got all kinds happening here in the channel. Go back and look at some of the old shows. If you want to type in something, if you want to look for something on the channel, go to my search on my channel and then type in I don't know, hedge. If you want to hedge against something. No, there's no, I spelled that wrong. Sorry, I just got something open here. If you want to look up something about money, type in money. And money is rotting, will it expire? Toronto money cash, illegal housing, how I make money in a dying retail. You type in anything on my channel, you'll find it. Don't forget to follow me on minds.com. Get off Facebook, everyone. Get on minds.com, please. On minds.com. I don't know how many times I have to preach this. Get off Facebook. This page is amazing. BitChute. I'm on BitChute, guys. Get your BitChute account now. Don't be the last one on the block to get it. BitChute's doing really well. BitChute is the next whatchamacallit, the next YouTube. Go ahead and tip or pledge up here. And Subscribestar, come on Subscribestar if you guys want to. I'm on here. I'm trying to upload what I can on here. I got my intro here, and I already have 2 subscribers on here. And Patreon, if you want to come on board on Patreon and join the family and you want to buy me a coffee, come on and buy me a coffee on Patreon. And that's it. That is the middle class. Are you middle class? Who is middle class? Where is middle class? What does middle class mean? And that was the show from tonight. Guys, thanks so much. Lord Humongous comes now on the comments section. What the heck? Yeah, we'll have Lord Humongous on next week if he's free. I haven't heard from him for a while. We're gonna talk to him, and we're gonna find out. Yeah, Andre Nicothina said, Mike Martins, I saw your channel being promoted on BitChute's front page. Yeah, of course they're gonna promote me. My stuff is not bad. I mean, it's not the best. It's not the best. Production. But I get I get out there, I try to get it out there on these sites. So here I am on BitChute if you guys want to join me on here too. And I appreciate that, And funding the transmission is super important because I'm spending 40 hours a week on YouTube. So don't, hit me up once in a while. Doesn't hurt. Okay, guys, I am going to go to sleep. It's one of our basic necessities next to oxygen and water to survive. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And if you want to support this transmission as basically as possible, go to my channel and just share one of my videos. I don't care what you share. Share something. Support the channel. Let's go against the, the status quo without, rocking anyone's boat. And yeah. Anyways, good night. God bless. Prayers to my dad. Thank you, Lord Humongous. I'm going to be visiting my dad tomorrow. So I'll keep you guys updated on what's going on with that. I hope he's okay. Yeah, I'm just here to follow subscribers. The searchers are rigged on YouTube. Oh, of course they're all. Everything's rigged nowadays. We're in the rigged society. Anyways, let me know if you guys have any ideas for next week's Mike and the Night show. What do you guys want to talk about? The rig system? What do you guys want to talk about? There's a lot to talk about, and there's a lot to get out there, right? So, anyways, yeah, prayers for my dad. Thanks, Elizabeth. Yeah, prayers for my dad, Supreme Cannon. Yeah, I'm going to go check him out tomorrow. Guys, thanks so much. And I'll see you soon, okay? Thanks for watching, and have a good night.